Welcome to the Etna Township Board of Trustees special meeting Tuesday, March 15, 2022, 4 p.m. I call the meeting to the order. We will dispense with hold off on the invocation pledge for the regular meeting. Roll call, Mrs. McKee.
Here.
Mr. Evans here. Mr. Johnson. Here. And Ms. Varian's been excused. Our fiscal officer. I move to adopt the agenda. Is there a second? Second. Mr. Johnson seconds. Roll call, Mrs. McKee.
Yes.
Mr. Evans, yes. Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
All right. Agenda is adopt. Public comments, limited 5 minutes. Anybody? No? All right. I move to go into executive session based on ORC 12122 or -22 G1 to consider the employment of a township administrator. Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion. Roll call. Mrs. McKee?
Yes.
Mr. Evans, yes. Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
All right, time in executive session 4:01, new record. All right, I'll move to come out of executive session. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, Ms. McKee seconds. Roll call, Ms. McKee?
Yes.
Mr. Evans, yes. Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Time out is 5:55. And just for the record, in executive session, we invited Stephen Wolf, Lisa Worm, Jeffrey White, and Daniel Sean Anvers. I will make a motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Johnson seconds. Roll call, Ms. McKee?
Yes. Here.
Mr. Evans, yes. Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
All right, we are adjourned at 5:55 p.m. All right, welcome to the Etna Township Board of Trustees regular meeting Tuesday, March 15, 2022 at 6 p.m. I'll call the meeting to order. Mr. Johnson, the invocation, please.
Bow your heads with me. Dear Lord, thank you for this day. Thank you for the citizens of Etna Township. Thank you for our freedoms that we have in the United States of America and here. Be with those who protect these freedoms, who protect us, and who serve us. Be with those families that their sons and daughters are overseas and they're missing them as they're doing their part to protect the world. Amen.
Please follow me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, roll call, please.
Mr. Johnson?
Here.
Mr. Evans?
Here.
Ms. McKee?
Here.
All right. Move to the adoption of the agenda. I would move with two modifications that we add tree trimming of township property trees and Grove-Licking County Alexis as a speaker. Is there a second?
Under new business.
Under new business.
New business. Second.
Johnson seconds. Discussion. All right, roll call, please.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
All right. And I'll move to adopt the meeting minutes from February 1st and February 2nd, 2022. Is there a second?
Second.
Ms. McKee seconds. Discussion? Anybody have questions on these? No? All right, roll call, please.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
All right, those are adopted. Public comments are limited to 5 minutes. Please come up, State your name and address.
Judy Kaufmeyer, 29 Roman Court, Southwest, Etna. Anyway, okay. A number of years ago, I was invited to be on the Implementation Committee as an Etna Township resident. According to the planning brochure, this would be a group of committee that is specifically in charge of acting upon and implementing the strategies of this plan. The group could potentially include members of the Comprehensive Planning Committee, Zoning Committee, Economic Development Committee, a range of other township committees, as well as residents. It is paramount that the township assign this task to a group of residents who are excited about furthering the goals outlined in this plan. I was invited to be on this. That's as far as it went. I picked up this brochure at the Etna Township office. No other communication has been received by me about this committee, if such a committee exists. I'm not aware of it. Maybe I was just silently uninvited. I feel like that kid whose parents went on vacation and all he got was a t-shirt. I got a glossy brochure. That's disconcerting, especially in light of all of the development that has taken place in our township. And over the last couple of days, I've reread over some of these things and highlighted different things that that committee could have had input to. It was only going to be an advisory committee to help the trustees to make their decisions. And now that you're hiring an administrator, I suggest that this kind of a committee be reactivated or instituted if it was never reacted or if it was never activated in the first place. So, and I personally would like to be a part of that committee as a resident. I've lived in this township for 47 years, and God willing, there will be a few more left. So with that, one of the things that I wanted to address very quickly with this is I went to the Hartford meeting last night because of the solar farms that are going in Hartford Township. This is a map. The little pink spots, this is where they want to put all of their solar panels. And it's going to take up quite a bit. I propose that one of the things, that we do some creative harvesting or gardening or farming in Etna Township. With all of the warehouses that we have, they've got a lot of roofs that could be used for this. The terrible thing about what's happening in Hartford Township is that it's going to produce 350 megawatt solar power generating facility. 350! And all of these people are going to be disrupted. Now there's people making a lot of money on this. So it was interesting. It was a more than 5-hour meeting, so it was very interesting. However, one of the things in this plan says we should partner with our township neighbors. And I think we should.
I did have a question. When was the committee discussed?
When was I invited?
When were you invited? This is a long time ago?
Well, this was produced in
2011.
This was printed up to April 26, 2011. So probably about 2013,
Okay.
maybe.
Okay. That's one of my...
I'm not sure. See, I should have written that down. I didn't. But I did when I, got this. I went to the back and I highlighted everything that would have been, a comprehensive plan committee. And I thought, okay, we'll be with this, and we'll discuss this, and this, and this. And I left all the things blank that were for other committees. So, but it never happened.
Okay. Well, I appreciate your input because as a resident, that was my concern that the comprehensive plan was passed and nothing really done with it. And we're looking at redoing that, revisiting that, and actually getting the input. And that is on the agenda tonight.
I saw that.
I appreciate your input.
Okay, thank you.
Tom, we have 64 Gala Avenue, Etna, Ohio. Wanted to bring a couple things to your attention. When a couple of you campaigned on my front porch this summer, we talked about Orchard Glen and the speeders that are going through the neighborhood. And we both discussed that we would have some speed bumps put in and better monitoring of those of the speeding that's going on in Orchard Glen. So I'd like to see that with the season coming in, you know, spring and summer coming up, we can implement some speed bumps or some speed monitoring throughout the neighborhood, because it is a major problem, because we have a lot of young children in our neighborhood that carelessly walk the street unintended, and it's just an accident waiting to happen. So I think we need to address that foremost and get some action moving on that. And the second thing is, when I was walking, as I usually do in the neighborhood, a lady came up to me last summer and suggested having a little playground for the kids. We have plenty of open fields in Orchard Glen, where maybe we could put a playground in there for the little kids to keep them off the streets and, you know, in a safe area, whereas they can have a little area where they can enjoy some time with their parents. And it'd be nice to have that in the neighborhood, you know, for the kids to have something to do. This would be for, you know, toddlers and whatnot, and younger kids. And I think that'd be a good thing for our neighborhood to have. And I just wanted to voice my opinion. I fully support having a full-time administrator. Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks. Regarding the speed bumps and enforcement,
Yes.
we need to look at, you know, county engineering of the feasibility of that, the humps, but definitely the enforcement. I've talked to the sheriff's deputies, and I'd like to implement something, increase enforcement through neighborhoods, because until you write tickets, nobody's
It's an
going to
accident waiting to happen.
So I'm
There's a
with
lot
you
of kids.
on that. And then regarding the park, we've got that park purchase that's still going through, so we're going to have a huge park. As far as satellite parks, we would have to look at that.
You know, I mean, if we have the money for other.
And that's with the comprehensive plan, we can look at everything.
Exactly. If we have the money for other personal expenses, we can do it later. Thank you very much.
Anybody else? No once, no twice? No? All right, close public comments. Instead of old business, because I know some of them are going to take a little bit longer, I'd like to skip to new business, just a couple items, and then we'll go back. New business under A, High Point Park Vietnam Memorial with Jeff Bragg, speakers. Jeff here?
Yep.
Okay, sir. Well, you should
Thank you.
just state your name and address.
My name is Jeff Bragg. I live in Palm Harbor, Florida. This is my lovely wife, Vanna Bragg, Kathy Bragg. And I'm delighted she's here today. I would also like to introduce some members of my high school class that have joined me and ask them to stand and be recognized. Please. Please. I don't know that they would vouch for my character, but they will vouch for my ability. It's truly a pleasure to be able to speak to you tonight, and I won't take a lot of the trustees' time, but there are some things that I would like to point out. If you turn to tab 1, it's a little profile about my brother and who I am proposing that we honor with the memorial in the park. I won't read you all of the bullets that are there, but I will point out that literally he did mow the lawn in High Point Park, which at the time we referred to as the Commons, for at least 2 summers and perhaps 3 as he worked his way through school while attending Watkins Memorial. He did actually attend Etna High School. I don't know how many alumni are left from there, but he did graduate from Watkins Memorial. He did graduate second in his class, but I'm pleased to announce that he did it without Victorian, so they got along just fine, first place and second place. If you turn, the home that we lived in is on the corner of Pike and East Streets. And there's a picture of our home. You probably recognize it when you drive by. I will tell you that when we moved to that home, there was no indoor plumbing, very little electricity. My mother, with 4 sons at the time, made sure that that was fixed right away. And my dad did put in plumbing and electricity. If you turn to tab 2, this is the citation that my brother won, the Distinguished Service Cross, which outlines his valor during a firefight in Vietnam. I will not read that to you. I hope that you will take the time to read it in your own time. But I will tell you that there are 9 million Vietnam-era veterans, with 2.5 members of the armed forces who served in Vietnam, 2.5. Over 58,000 died in that conflict, and 1,000 were awarded the Distinguished Service Cross, 400 posthumously, and my brother was one of those. Tab 3 is a list of all Ohioans who were killed during that conflict. And if you turn to page 16, you see that my brother was the only one from Etna, Ohio, who was killed in action during the war. To give you some context, if you turn to page 32, you see that David Mays from Pataskala was also killed during that war. In any event, these are all of the people killed in Ohio and the towns that they came from. And I just provided that to you as further documentation. Page 4 is kind of what I'm here to request of the trustees, and that is that they just approved the memorial be constructed, that they approve a place to put the memorial, and that I will bear all the costs of design, construction, and placement of the memorial in whatever location the trustees decide. Now, I have one proposal here, and I like this proposal because it does give the citation for the Distinguished Service Cross. But when looking through the park, I also note that there are other memorials there. Specifically, this is the rock that is the World War II and Korean War memorial. I'm happy to have a similar memorial. I've said on almost every occasion that I've written or spoken to the trustees, I don't have a dog in the fight as to what the memorial looks like. I just want you to be comfortable that it's tasteful and that it complements the park. And I originally proposed that it be in the park, but I understand there may be some legal impediments to that. But in any event, I reiterate that I am most willing to make this memorial anything that you can feel good about and that the citizens of Etna can feel good about. The memorial that is that you see before you now is about 36 inches high and about 48 inches wide. I would certainly not propose anything larger than that, and I would suspect that what I would propose would be something smaller than that. But that does honor all of those dedicated to all who served and to Etna's fallen son, First Lieutenant Fred Bragg, Jr. In closing, I would like to read you a letter I received after Fred's death. And it's a short letter, but it was meaningful to me at the time. It says, "Dear Jeff, anything I might say will be small comfort to you and your family, but I wanted to express my sincere and deep sympathy for the loss of your brother. Man's life is short indeed, and he can be measured only by the deeds he performed. Many have lost their lives who contributed nothing while passing through their lives. Fred made the supreme sacrifice, but he also made a great contribution. This war is difficult to understand and to accept, but I'm sure his contribution was not in vain. You lost a brother who had high morals and who contributed more in his short life than many of us do in a greater number of years. I thank you for what your brother did for all of us." And that letter was written to me personally by Carol Wood, who was the principal of Watkins High School at the time, and as it turns out, a good friend of mine and a good friend of my family's. I just wanted to share that as a way to conclude today. If there's any questions anyone has, I'm happy to try to respond to them. I appreciate your time and your consideration, and I'm happy to work with you.
Okay. Well, thank you for bringing this to our attention, and thank you for your family's sacrifice to this country. I'd like to discuss amongst the board. I know this has been presented before, so you're a little more familiar with some of this. I looked into it, being that we already have a memorial in the park for World War II in Korea, specifically naming some individuals. I've reached out to the county prosecutor, and they have no problem with this because we already have memorials there, so there is no legal impediment unless you know of anything different of a reason to. I personally find it very appropriate to include in our park, not only because he was an Etna resident, but he did service that park. You know, it's the connection is just there. I think there's 3 plaques in the park for various reasons, and they're all in boulders, so I don't know if we did move forward, which I would encourage, if we would want to stay with that theme. I do think that we should, honor specifically Mr. Bragg, but also, as you say, all those that have fallen. But I have no problem in pointing his sacrifice out specifically. Do you guys have any questions, comments, concerns?
I read the form when the prosecutor sent the information over, and I just didn't know why it wasn't moving forward, so I appreciate getting that information.
Do either of you have a preference if we do move forward of a boulder type to keep it similar, or, as I understand, this is a bench, is that correct?
That's a bench, right.
With this on one end, and then the bench continues out?
Right, correct. And then there's a third proposal, which is a monolith without the bench. I was just designed to make the footprint a little smaller. I would be so thrilled to have anything. And I think, if I might express an opinion, if it's going to go in the park, I think the boulder is frankly a better solution, because I think it's more consistent with the environment of the park.
That was my thoughts. But just because we did something in the past doesn't mean we have to stick to it if it's meaningful. So, do you two have any thoughts on it, preferences either way? Like I said, I'm for a memorial. I'm one that, unless I see something that's hard to visualize, the bench sitting out there somewhere, I can picture a boulder.
Well, I'll say this about it, and I know it came up before, nothing against the rule, but this is big. It's got a big name all over it, and it requires maintenance. Like, Bub was the one that actually polished up that, I believe, right? Yeah. How long did that take you? Took you a while, just do the plaque.
The plaque.
Yeah. And, I think the stone's a much better idea than stone, yes. But
I like both. For a true memorial, this is beautiful. But like I said, fitting in there. You can make a plaque. I sent you some examples too, where you can get a photo. There's a lot that you can do with those bronze plaques.
Yeah.
And I'd be open to any of that. And you could get different shape boulders.
we found that one, so where would that come from? We dug it up somewhere.
I think it belongs to Richard's
Where's it in there?
So,
Now, since that is I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Since that's a bigger monument you want, I know we have property across by the Dairy Queen, right, in that area, by the Dairy Queen. We don't own that property, we have got the
right down the street,
Yeah.
there's 2 lots there.
Yeah, and what is the use for that?
That was staging for the 310 expansion.
Okay.
Oh, you mean right out here?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I think the park is, yeah, yes, Lynn?
Am I allowed to speak?
Yes, please.
Two things. First of all, I believe it needs to be in the park. And I'm not one that believes because we've always done something, we have to do it the same. Randy and I walk in the park sometimes, not enough, but we do. And the fact that there would be a bench there, I think would be a plus. And I think the bench could be a resting place. I think the bench could be a meditative place. And it's also a place where my children, my grandchildren, my great-grandchildren can learn something about the Satin citizen who gave it all and the Vietnam War, because they don't learn about it in school.
Right.
And I would like to see if the bench needs to be made a little smaller, you know, and I don't know what maintenance there is to it. I'm sure that there are enough people here that we would pitch in and it would be taken care of, because this sparks a real fire in me when I think about that being out there in honor of our Etna son who gave his life.
Right. Like I said, I have no problem with even the bench, you know, in a proper location. I think we've got enough outside areas to put something. I mean, what's your thoughts on, I know you're more for Boulder. Again, it's hard for me to picture.
I don't mind more, I just don't like names on everything. That's naming rights, naming this, naming over that.
So are you saying that with the individual name being so prominent?
That's some of my problem with it, yes, but I understand what someone here with, if he wants his brother to be known.
Is there something, and I'm just throwing, oh, yes, sir.
I've got a question for Mr. Johnson.
Okay.
Could you explain a little more thoroughly, please, your problem with having a fallen soldier's name on our monument if it comes to pass?
I don't mind having a big name, you know. I don't mind having a plaque or something that somebody come up and read, just a big name on things. Like I don't like people's names, buildings named for me. I don't like roads named for me. I don't like airports or names on parks. In fact, the gentleman that designed that whole park didn't want his name on that park. Yeah, I mean, he did a lot of work, a lot of work for that park, but he did not want his name on it. That's where I'm coming from.
Would maybe, and I'm just throwing it out here, if more of the I don't want to say branding because it takes the emphasis off the name, but call it the Vietnam Memorial, and have his name recognize his picture and that where the side Fred McGrath is Vietnam Memorial, so people see Vietnam, go over there and then learn about it. Maybe that's a compromise.
Yeah, I am open to anything. I think that's a good suggestion.
Yeah, I mean, that's,
Wait, look at that.
I like this. This is nice, this is a bigger one, and that's why I thought if,
I mean, what if Vietnam up here, and you sludge it, and you could even make Fred Bragg bigger, but that's the Fred Bragg Vietnam Memorial Bench.
I could easily do that, and if you look at the monolith in your book,
Is that something that, it's the big name of Vietnam?
that's obtrusive, it's smaller.
I like the bench because it's a meditative place, it's for thought, and maybe somebody that might not be thinking of that sits down and see, what is this? Oh,
There's something we can put on the bench, a plaque or a mini version of this to sit on the bench, that there's something like right over the bench that you could like, take that off as we built the bench.
I don't know if I'd want to put anything, I don't think you want people sitting on something that's supposed to memorialize something.
Well, not sitting on the bench, but
But when you were saying on the bench,
on the back.
even that, I think more, I don't think that would be respectful. I'm not saying that you weren't, but
I'm happy to make the change to move my brother's name to the memorial itself, put Vietnam on the bench, and redesign that.
I mean, because then it has his name and to, to Edna's fallen son and all those who served.
I would actually put to all who served and Edna's fallen son.
That,
Because I just think it's more of a.
and then I'm personally fine with the medals and his actions, because that teaches people what his sacrifice was, not just he passed there. So, I mean, I don't know, do you guys have any questions, or do we, I mean, I'm sure we'd have to probably run it through our county prosecutor of just the paperwork to get it done, of allowing you to move forward in that. But I'd be willing to, move that forward, but I just want to see, is there like a consensus on the board to move forward with this? In that form, at least, and I mean, if we have to tweak it, if we, through the process. Mr. Bragg.
We've had this on our agenda many times in the past. And I can't remember where it ended up at. The last, but I mean, there was some talk about redesigning things, and I can't remember exactly.
Well, and they said they wanted it smaller, and that's why I presented the monolith. And I've always offered up the boulder concept.
Because I think we actually asked for the bench. If I remember
At
right.
one point you did.
Yeah.
Okay, we got the bench.
Yeah, we actually said United was on a bench.
Okay, well,
You're right about that.
How-
That's solicited, that's where you got that from.
all right, how about, I'll move to approve the installation of the Fred G. Gregg and Vietnam Memorial installation in High Point Park. Cost to be borne by Mr. Bragg here, subject to final design review by this board and approval by the county prosecutor as to form for this to occur. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Ms. McKee seconds. Discussion? I just want to thank you for bringing this to our attention, and hopefully we'll do this. Roll call, please.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
It is approved. Just
I'll submit something to you.
submit something in that form, and then we'll move forward. Maybe think about where in the park. Mrs. McKee is over parks, so maybe work with her as far as location. We've got several locations. I don't know if you have to consider that
Yeah.
food. The food. I'm running a blank. No, for people to.
Oh, yeah, we're looking at that too.
Okay.
Put out
Where to put that in there?
blessing boxes.
Blessing
we call
boxes,
it.
that's what it is.
We want to put that out there as well.
So, but I'm sure within the park around the path, a suitable bench location, maybe with sunsets and whatever in mind. So, all right, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
All right, and then next we'll go to elections with Gorillapod County.
Good evening. I also have our board chair, Mark Johns, with me today, as well as our assistant director, Amy Feitner, in addition to myself. So Mark may also provide some comments when I'm done. My name is Alexis Fitzsimmons. I'm the executive director of Gorillapod County. I joined Gorillapod County in July of 2021. So 2021 has been a year of transition for Grow, losing the two previous employees and moving in a new direction with 2 new employees. Haley has been on the organization since December, and Mark has been on the Grow board since its inception in 2012. So who is Gorillapod County? I know that you 2 trustees are new, so I just want to provide a little bit of overview of who we are and what we do. Gorillapod County is a 501c3 community improvement corporation, which is a public-private partnership between county officials, cities, and we're provided funding through communities like Etna Township, through the county commissioners, as well as some private organizations.
We can't hear in the back. Can you speak up a little bit, please? Thank you.
Is that on, Joe?
Check.
No, it's on.
So the Gorillapod County we are the economic development arm for the county. We are the economic development arm for Licking County. In the place of the county commissioners having their own economic development office, we provide that service in their stead. Our goal with Etna Township and all of our communities that we provide service to is to advance, encourage, and promote industrial, economic, commercial, and civic development in the community. We attract employers, we create employment opportunities, and we work to promote and improve the economic welfare of the constituents in our county. And we do this in several different ways, one of which is we maintain and manage a business retention and expansion program. What that means is that we reach out to businesses in all of our communities in Licking County, making sure that they have what they need and the resources they need to be successful and maintain our operations in the county. We also manage the Etna Townships and other townships and the county's enterprise zone areas and community reinvestment areas, which includes running the Tax Incentive Review Council every year, which reviews and votes on the continuation of tax abatements in the area. We also do things like promote workforce development for Licking County Works Committee. In the past several years, the Licking County Works Committee has completed a skills gap analysis, developed career pathway tools, and are currently working on workforce videos that will identify students that have gone through our workforce education facilities in Licking County have provided them education and they've had positive outcomes, so that we can identify, so that we can provide those as a resource to our educational partners, our companies, so that they can educate their employees and students about how they can move forward in those pathways and find success and additional education in the county in order to support workforce growth, to support as a retention tool to support our current and attracting new employers to the county. We also advocate for infrastructure improvements. We work closely with LCATS as well as the Transportation Improvement District, which Bill Lozier is here this evening, and he sits on our infrastructure committee. As a part of that infrastructure committee, we are currently sponsoring, along with the county commissioners, a comprehensive water and sewer infrastructure plan study. That study will allow us to work with a consultant on creating a GIS mapping system that will identify all of the current infrastructure in the county, provide information on the current capacities of that infrastructure, identify health and safety needs to address water and wastewater issues, health and safety issues in the county, as well as plan for future development needs in the county, which is imperative given some of the projects that have been recently announced, including Intel. We also provide regional marketing efforts. We work with our partners at More Columbus and Jobs Ohio to do that, in addition to doing some of our own efforts, including going to the Site Selectors Guild Conference a couple of weeks ago, talking with site selectors, keeping our relationships with them to market the Licking County region, which includes Etna Township. We also will be attending the Area Development Consultants Forum that's going to be hosted here in Columbus in June, and the Economics Conference, which will be hosted in Columbus in December. We also provide marketing efforts through Expansion Magazine and pay for placement of ads and articles on that platform that market specifically to the site selection community and companies that are looking to attract, looking to relocate or build new facilities. In addition to that, we also have been working with Licking County JFS and Ohio East Job Centers to promote workforce attraction through a billboard campaign. Specifically, our first billboard campaign is to attract workforce from Perry County. Perry County is a rural county that doesn't have has more citizens than it does have jobs. And so a significant number of their population leaves the county for work, and we want them to come to Lincoln County to fill the jobs here. And so our first effort is to attract them for healthcare. And so the first billboard, and it's up currently, says wehavethejobs.com. It's a website that Lincoln County owns, and it directs to a specific site at the Ohio Meets Job Center that allows them to search for positions in the healthcare field. And that will also be rotating with different industries throughout the county. Our major industries like manufacturing, healthcare, logistics and distribution, obviously is a real big hub here in Etna Township, as well as IT services and business services. In addition to that, along the lines of how we support economic development, we also maintain an online site database. The online site database is hosted by Jobs Ohio, but Lincoln County provides all the input for sites in Lincoln County to that database, and we keep that updated, working with developers, property owners, to make sure that that information is correct. We also act as a liaison for One Columbus as well as Jobs Ohio for project lead submissions and site location visits. We've responded to 10 leads from Jobs Ohio just since the second week of January. We respond and provide information from utilities regarding, in those RFIs regarding the project leads needs, and we customize those documents to fit each and every one of those responses. And we do that on behalf of not only Etna Township, but all the other communities in Lincoln County. In addition, Haley and I both serve as trustees on the Etna Township New Community Authority Board. And generally, we try to address community preparedness through efforts to address regional housing needs, specifically as it relates to workforce. Site readiness, so sites that are raw land currently, and property owners wish to have it developed. We can work with property owners to identify what needs to be done to make that property marketable and counsel them on, what the fair market value of that site might be per acre. And also transportation infrastructure, which I previously talked about with the TID and LCATs. So specifically regarding Etna Township, the interest in the I-70 corridor has not diminished at all. In the past 5 years, Etna Township has added over 10,000 jobs in the logistics and distribution industry in this township. In the past several months since I've started, there has been no less than a dozen developers contact Lincoln County about Etna Township in that industry. And that's not going away. There's going to be a continued interest because of the location of this community and the concentration of infrastructure and operations that currently exist here. And I understand that as the general use of this community as a warehousing, logistics and distribution center, there is a lot of fatigue in the community as a result of the current operations that exist here. And that your focus as a community may want to shift to diversify your economic base from warehouse and logistics to maybe manufacturing and commercial retail, and that's fine. Growth should be part of that conversation, and we hope to support you in those efforts. The trustees, as a board of trustees, you need to work together as a team to decide which direction you want to grow in, and once you decide what that direction is, we're happy to help you execute that plan. So with that, I'm gonna go ahead and try to make Mark. I think he has a few things that he'd like to say.
Thank you. My name is Mark Johns. As Alexis said, I currently chair the board of Grow Lincoln County. I have been on the board of directors since the organization's inception. The job that helps our family pay my bills, though, that I have is that I serve as the mayor of the city of Heath. The city of Heath, Etna Township, last spring, entered into an agreement for economic development with Grow Lincoln County to provide the services that Alexis just outlined to you. This agreement was modeled after an agreement that the city of Heath entered into with Gorilla County a few years previously. And there's a similar agreement with the village of Hebron. And then Gorilla County also has an agreement with Licking County itself to serve as its economic development arm and to provide the other services that Alexis outlined. I want to just give you a perspective as someone who is an elected official and leader in the community, and similar to you, has a need to make sure that you're using the public funds that you have in a wise way. The agreement that Etna Township has with Gorilla County says that it will pay Gorilla County $15,000 a year for all of the services, potentially, that were just outlined. The city of Heath pays the same amount. I can assure you, because I've considered it, the value that the city of Heath, and I would argue the value that the Township of Etna receives from Gorilla County for $15,000 a year is tremendous. If you were to try to hire an individual with the expertise of the Gorilla County staff in this area, you would easily pay 7, 8, 9 times each year what you currently pay to Gorilla County. Now, your involvement with Gorilla County can be as broad or as narrow as you choose it to be. I can assure you that just because I sit on the board of directors for Grow, the city of Heath gets no special treatment, gets no special favors, receives no other services that aren't offered to our other partners and throughout the county. I would encourage you to be involved with Grow County. Our regularly scheduled meetings are once every 2 months. They are public meetings. I would encourage you, if possible, to attend. Our committees consist not only of board members, but of non-board members as well. I want to encourage you to continue to partner with an organization that has served and is still standing here ready to serve this township in an excellent manner. We want to do what you want done. Help give us the direction of what you want from the organization. And again, I would encourage you to be an involved partner with the organization. And I think you'll continue to see the value for the dollars that you've paid as the township has in the past.
Thank you. Yeah, I agree with the small cost, the $15,000 for the work that's provided, and the resources there are well worth it. I don't know if the board has any questions for them, or?
Are we still in a contract with them, or, because I know we had talked about it before, Mark, you and I, we didn't know if we wanted to pursue or continue that. So,
I never.
Yeah, we did, we talked about it, you may have forgotten it, yeah.
No.
The contract.
I have a copy of the contract here if you would like to make copies. What the contract states is, it became effective on March 1st of last year and renews annually on that date unless otherwise terminated per,
So it's already been renewed, obviously, because March 1st has passed.
That is correct.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
And I would look forward to renewing it, because like I said, I think it's a small price to pay if you had an independent consultant do any of that. One of the things I think we do need to do is utilize the organization more. Like you said, you only get out of it what you can. Right now, like I said, with no transition coming in, I haven't had time. So maybe that's something you can look into, or once we get an administrator, deal with that. But I definitely think we need to use those resources more. It's a small price to pay for such a vast wealth of information and like I said, resources. So I appreciate your work, and as I said, we just have to find time to utilize it. Anything else?
Yes.
No, I think, they're
No,
just
they already
presenting-
getting it, buddy.
They're just
already
presenting,
got it.
they're just presenting what
Yeah.
what they do.
Okay.
Just let us know we're new trustees and.
I didn't pay the bill or ask.
No.
No, Julie? No. No, okay. Well, thank you very much for that information. And like I said, especially with everything going on, all the pressures development, and we need help. So thanks for being there, and I think we'll be more involved here when we get everything settled out.
Thank you.
Thank you. That, I don't know if we want to, Julie, do you have to get out here soon, or it's going to be a later meeting? Okay. Well, let's go right into the meat of it. Old business, Refugee Road, the Mink to Parkway, memorandum of understanding, the IGA, and all that with that project. I've been working with Bill Lozier with TID, Transportation Improvement District, along with Pataskala, Tim Hickens, and other members regarding the improvement there. I know Ms. Key, you've been meeting with them also with this. And we're at a point now that we have the IGA intergovernmental agreement that was previously signed by Pataskala. It's going to be, needs to be signed by the commissioners. Our prosecutor has reviewed it. Carolyn Carnes has signed onto this as the form. Right now, they are asking us to move forward with the timeline. Their timeline originally required this to be completed by, or approved by us by March 1st. However, there's a new date of April 1st they need to start. And signing this will help release those funds. Along with this comes an MOU. I sent you a copy of that earlier. If you have not seen a copy of that.
Same one we got last meeting?
No, this has been tweaked and by our prosecutor, and also Pataskala's. Pataskala would like us to sign the MOU, which just kind of outlines, it's not enforceable, but it's basically saying this is the intent of all the parties, so there's no confusion on that. We actually have a buy-in by the county commissioners that are providing a $1 million stopgap should the projects exceed $10 million, which I think is fantastic, and to get that memorialized here is incredible. Again, with this project, you guys may have reviewed it, but for those out there, it's a total project cost of approximately $10 million with current contributions in place. There's a $7 million amount remaining, which Pataskala and Etna would partner in paying through SID bonds. Those funds, our debt portion would be paid through the JED's revenue and other mechanisms. I reviewed the revenue projected just for Ashley, which should cover the debt payments of, I believe it's about $230,000 a year, depending if you do a 20 or 50-year bond. And then we've got other properties going in there. TPA has not closed on the northeastern portion of our corporate park. There's a development going in there that I spoke to Jeff Reeds today, and he was comfortable in stating that he would contribute $500,000 towards our portion of the debt, which would reduce it to $3 million. We work with the funding mechanisms with that because we have to go through the DCA and CRAs afterwards. And then with that, I spoke to our legal attorneys, and I'm trying to see where that's at. Elders and Elders drew up a resolution, if I can find it, and I think, did I send that to you guys? I hope I have it here. A resolution basically, that we approve this on the condition that we will seek to get those contributions for any of that future development in there outside of the Ashley development before approving any kind of CRA or other incentive. And I thought I had that here. Did you guys get a copy of that previously? No? I apologize, it's been a hectic day. Hold on. Let me, I move to take a short recess. Is there a second?
I'll second.
For recess, discussion?
Wait, were you looking for this?
No. All right, roll call on the recess.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mrs. McKee?
Yes, recess at 6:54, I'll be right back.
Well, and throughout the day, you know, because
I was just there for this. I like the idea. Don't get me wrong. But you know, I supported it. But I wasn't, you know, part of the group here 24/7. You know, everything else. So if you have sort of 4 to 6, or in the morning 7 to 9, you know, that's exactly.
I would say that
All right. All right. You can turn that off.
thank you.
All right, I'll move to come out of recess and go into regular session. Is there a second?
Second.
Ms. McKee seconds. Roll call, please.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. McKee? Or Mr. Evans, sorry.
Yes.
Mrs. McKee?
Yes.
All right, we're back in session at 6:56. As you can see, here's the resolution proposed by Elders and Albers, just stating that the board hereby resolves that at the time the property is located in Etna Township, is benefited by the Refugee Road Improvement, it's going to be approved, that require the property owner to enter an agreement with the township to reimburse the township that the property's appropriate share of the project costs on terms to be agreed to will be made. So basically stating that what's going on right now is Ashley's coming in with a couple of the other projects. We're kind of developing that whole road. There's other sections that are undeveloped right now. My feeling was they shouldn't get a free ride into that section. So that development coming in should contribute something towards it. Ashley Furniture's contributing $750,000 to the project. Same with their other side. And that's where my discussions with the developer, we came to an understanding of about $500,000-ish just on their one project. So if we could do that throughout, we could pay down that debt quite a bit. So this is something that's just stating that that's our intent. So we've got the MOU, the IGA, and the resolution. The MOU is just basically laying out the road work of the intention of all the parties of how it's going to be structured. It is not a legally enforceable document, but it's just something that everybody's on the same page about. The IGA was drafted last year and already signed by Pataskala. Again, they're waiting for us, and this is a legally binding document here. But to move forward, we need to pass the MOU and the IGA, and my insistence was the resolution. And again, talking with the developer and talking with their attorneys, that I wanted to ensure before I came on board with this, that there's mechanisms that we can get funding from the development coming in to reduce our debt, in conjunction with what we're going to receive through the JEDs, tips, or anything else negotiated. So it's just helping us pay down our debt.
All right, you're going to have the, so you said Ashley is, how much you get now?
Ashley's given, or TPA is given 1.5 million total. That's for 750,000 for Ashley, and then Red Rock and Magoo. I get those good Magoo on the Pataskala side. Towards the project.
For the project, so we got 3.5, right? But you're saying 3.5 million is what the township would borrow, right?
Correct.
Okay, and then Ashley's going to give,
No, that Ashley's already off the top number. The top number is 10 million. The 7 million is left after Ashley gives theirs, after the grants, after all that, and that was delineated in that
so
paperwork.
you still want 3.5 from the township? You want to
Right.
stick
Well, I don't want
3.5?
it's going to be 3.5 up to, there's, I believe, a 20% contingency. I mean,
Without Ashley being in it.
well, Ashley's in it. Well, I'm
I mean,
talking,
not.
what I'm talking about on, no, they're in it on paper. They're contributing that.
Not out of our 3.5, but you're saying they.
3.5 is left, 7 million's left, and we're splitting that, so it's 3.5. What I'm doing and what I'm trying to ensure is, again, I didn't want to just approve this, and those vacant parcels, the one they haven't closed yet, so they couldn't commit anything, they're not closed, that they don't come in there, and, because if all of them were going in there, they would each contribute something to this. Well, they're not in there yet, so this is a way that I'm trying to ensure that they do contribute something in the future, because what we're doing is, if they came in, they would need like a left-hand turn lane. Well, what we're doing is we're building it, I believe it's a 3 lanes, so you've got the turn lanes in there. So they shouldn't just be able to walk in there and not have that left-hand turn lane expense that they would have in the beginning. So this is just memorializing, these are our expectations, that you're gonna make a contribution towards that 3.5 million to reduce that. And originally, it was 1 million that TPA was splitting with Ashley and Magoo, and they bumped out to 1.5 to try to get this through, based on, you could go by truck trips, frontage, we could work with the various things, but a turn lane could be 380 to 400 or 500. Jeb Reeves was comfortable at $500,000 of saying I can contribute that, and maybe more, maybe less, 100,000 plus or minus. My thing is just trying to ensure that we're getting as much revenue as we can, because we've got to deal with that refugee road from Etna Parkway to 310 eventually. So I don't want to use up all those resources in that corporate part just for this. That's why I'm trying to ensure that we're going to get more contributions out of the developers that have yet to come in there on Refugee Road that are going to benefit from this expansion and this development, which includes 2 roundabouts going to 3 lanes. Yeah, if you want to talk, Bill, please. Bill Lozier with TID.
Thank you, Trustee Evans. I feel like I should give more background on this. I feel like this has been going on for a year, and the township has been represented by John Carlisle, and so there's so much that has happened in the past year. This started, this is a reconstruction of the public road, I mean, typically when a developer comes in, they build internal roads and they become township roads and they turn them over to you all for maintenance. This is a reconstruction of an existing public road, which is the responsibility of Pataskala and Etna and so forth. I want to tell you how we got to complete reconstruction to a 3-lane road. There were 3 developments that came in at the same time: Red Rock, Magoo, and Ashley Furniture. We have to do a traffic impact study, which basically said that each of those needed a left turn lane and the 2 intersections needed to be reconstructed. Those intersections being Mink and Etna Parkway. So they were going to do this, and the amount of money came out to be roughly $3 million to do this. But what we didn't want was individual left turn lanes going in and out and having the pavement be cobbled up in the future, knowing that in the long run, the thing is zoned for development and it's going to become probably a 2-way left turn lane. So that's how we got to this point. So the group between Pataskala and Etna and the developers decided that we would come up with a comprehensive financing plan, which is the mission of the TID. The mission of the TID is to move economic development projects forward, especially if they're multi-jurisdictional, which is what this one is. So what was left over after we got contributions from the 2 developers, and we applied for grant money, which, by the way, we're obligated to spend on this project by a certain date, and we received a TID grant in the amount of $210,000 for right-of-way. We received an Ohio Public Works Commission grant for $400,000 for construction. So whatever is left over beyond those grants is the responsibility of the local public agencies that are responsible for maintaining what is a public road. You know, the road is a 20-foot chip and seal road that's going to need constant maintenance, and again, everybody over the past year has decided that wasn't going to accommodate this truck traffic. And so that's how we landed here. In I hate to say how many years experience, plus 35 plus. This is a true public and private partnership. This was the flavor of the month for probably the last 5 or 10 years. It's clear up to the federal level and the state level. But this one truly is, because the developers and Licking County Planning agreed that these individual requirements created by the developers would be put towards the public road, all in one pot. It's pretty innovative. I think it's been hammered out a lot so that everybody sitting on the other side of the table was comfortable that it was fair to all the entities. We had a conversation with a developer today that Mr. Evans mentioned. It's not, he hasn't written it down in blood, but he's in a cooperative spirit like everybody else is. That he sees in fairness that he wants to make a contribution because he's getting a lot that has frontage on this 3-lane road. And the fairness part of it is he agreed that if I was coming in, Licking County Planning would tell me I had to build a left turn lane. That's at least how much I should contribute to the project. I think as we move forward, we're looking for legal mechanisms to have future businesses pay into defraying the cost of your debt, which, by the way, is a maximum of $3.5 million. I don't think it'll be that much, but we're counting on $3.5 million, especially with the contribution from the Licking County Commissioners, agreeing to backstop between $10 and $11 million, which is quite a statement from the county commissioners on how important the project is to the county. Don't forget that the JED is producing income for more than just Etna and the board improvement account. It's divided among the county and other entities. I don't know how this JED was created, but typically everybody makes out, and that is helpful in getting everybody into a cooperative spirit. I felt it was necessary to give you some background on this because I know that things can get oversimplified. I guess when you look at it, if it's a $10 million project, which my latest cost estimate adds it down to 9.9 million for everything, that's with a 25% contingency on the construction, which that's an extra $2 million that we have. It could be less than that. I think most certainly if you did the math and you figured out that the commissioners are going to backstop an extra million, it probably is very likely it will be less than 3.5 million that is the responsibility of Etna. So obviously I've got a lot invested in this and I'm passionate about it. I could answer probably any question you have about the project and the engineering and so forth. If you have any, I'm happy to answer them.
The main question I have is, basically you want Aetna to come up with $3.5 million in a bond, with payments that are going to amount to $235,000, $240,000 a year, correct?
It's depending on the term and the final amount. Right now, I'm currently estimating between $180,000 and $240,000 a year.
Okay. Right. And so you're saying that could be smaller because Ashland's going to put money into it, but that's not going to affect our 3.5 million bond, right?
Oh, it would. It would. You're the last. You're filling the last gap. What we did with State Route 310 out here is the same exact model. And the funding mechanism for that is JED 2, which is where Amazon sits. We developed that with a financial model that said that Amazon would produce $785,000 in JED revenue for all of those entities to get paid out of it. And it's now like $4 million because they understated their employment and so forth. They have a lot more employees there. But this loan that you would take would be through the State Infrastructure Bank, which gives very favorable rates. It would either be a loan or bonds. For State Route 310, we did bonds. At the end of the project, we had extra money, and you were able to defray the term of your bond debt. Bonds are different than loans. They have to call them in blocks or lots or something. And so that effectively, I don't think it reduced the payment, but I think it reduced the term. So that is, if we follow the same model as we did out here, that's what we would do, is on behalf of the entities, go to the State Infrastructure Bank. The TID would hold the debt, and there would be another intergovernmental agreement agreeing that your revenue from the JED up there would make the bond or loan payments from the SIP. So again, to answer your question, the max that you're agreeing to in your MO is 3.5 million. That's, it will be well, you're closing the gap of whatever is left over. If we can get more favorable costs, which I used to be a lot more optimistic about before this run of inflation, but we have a lot of contingency in this. It's still not going to exceed what we have here.
And the money to pay the costs coming out of the JED.
So that's, ultimately up to the Board of Trustees. We always give models on ways that it could be paid for, and the models that we presented to Carlisle and to Mark were that it was coming out of that JED.
The JED was across that northern or southern
Actually,
side.
it was actually just on one.
Just Ashley.
Just on Ashland.
Just Ashley,
Just Ashley.
the projections are to pay for it, and that's, you're asking the 3.5, what we're doing, the potential development that's not there would contribute 500,000, so that would knock down that. The other one, Kissel property, we could do the same thing, say 500, that would knock down, so you're at 2.5.
So how many?
And then that JED, and that's just Ashley. Now JED 2's, that property that the TBA is looking at right now, they're already in JED 2, so we recoup that. And then in the future, once all incentives come off and those properties go back to full value, then we're getting even more income stream.
Well, the JED, with the JED boards, is that we're talking about? I think there's a JED board, I think this was.
Well, that's you're talking about the BIA account?
Yes.
Well, the BIA account would be any kind of, if the developers are reimbursed or anything like that, but we get a portion of it. Typically, it's 45% of the JED, 35. Of the net revenue of the different JEDs, because the county will get 15 for the first 10 years, then it'll go down to 10. And Brunswick's 20%, schools 30 out of gross. But typically, in any of the JETs, we're at anywhere from 40 to, once things start falling off and going in longer terms, 55% of their revenue is coming to us, of the net. So I think anything outside of Ashley is bonus, and that's where, originally with the MOU, Pataskala wanted to include in there that any future development in the parks go to reduce this debt. And I didn't want to agree to that because that's hamstringing us when we have other obligations. So we removed that, and I mean, they've got more development on their side, but they also have the income tax and they're getting more of their revenue. So I think this is fair. I analyzed it thoroughly, and again, MOU is just kind of a roadmap, not legally binding. Resolutions to try to just state, hey, this is our intention that people are going to contribute. We'll figure out the mechanisms, because we do have leverage, because they'll want the incentives, they'll want all that. And then the IGA, again, just that's the binding contract here. So I think it pays for itself. One of the big things in this area is the infrastructure. If you go down Refugee Road, it's bad. And we decided to put our corporate park there, so we need to do something with it. And if we can cooperate with them and get these funds, I mean, if we didn't have the commissioners, backstopping, if we didn't have the grants, we didn't have, like I said, and it's not a 50-50 mix, because Pataskala was actually contributing more to this. So that was my concern going in, like, why is it 50-50? They benefit more, all their stuff's north of there, and they would need to use Refugee Road coming in. But all those developers are saying, we need that access, especially in the northeastern corner, because the way they have to align them is north-south, so all of that goes to Refugee Road, and then they'll probably come down.
How many of those places are there?
Well, you have that property that they're doing, I think there's 2 buildings there, or 3? 2?
Trustee Evans, I mean, you can lay out.
But then you got
buildings
Kissel
if you want to.
in its concept, so it could change. But then you got the Kissel Ditch property between Ashley and this. So you got another piece of property there. So there's going to be more on that road.
So Pataskala's got probably the same, you're saying maybe there's 5 on our side, that's what you're saying?
Well, Ashley's laid out this way, but frontage-wise, we've got the same frontage. Same road.
So we want to go in debt $3.5 million to pay for a road that's not really our road. That's Pataskala's road to maintain.
Well, it is
our agreements, right?
Well, it is our road, but through the agreements, which could be canceled at any time. Is that correct? And I don't think the maintenance agreement isn't for upgrading. I mean, this is a big upgrade. And I think we can partner with them for the remainder of the road down to 310, because that needs it. But if we don't do this, they have a plan B, which I think is inferior, and I don't even want to.
Plan B is to cobble it up. And what I
cobbled up, it'll be left turn lane, like
okay.
it'll, and with everything going on, Mink's going to be developed. There's going to be roundabouts at Mink and at the Parkway on Refugee in this plan. I think it's $1 million an intersection, isn't it?
It's $1 million an intersection, which, by the way, the maintenance agreement with Pataskala specifically excludes intersections. So there would be that, but here's the thing that I know, and the reason that I'm excited about this is, I'm retired county engineer, and usually what happened on these things is we're way behind things, and you end up with an 18-foot chip and seal road trying to handle truck traffic and scrambling with no money in order to maintain levels of service. In this case, this is going to be built to county commercial standards, which is about 12 inches of blacktop and graded shoulders and roundabouts that can handle the truck traffic. And so the maintenance, you probably won't have any maintenance on this for 15 years outside of striping and mowing. Or you can be left with an 18-foot chip and seal road that has to be pothole patched and chip sealed, and complaints. And it'll end up being, a constant maintenance problem. Again, there is no obligation really for developers to pay for road reconstruction, a public road reconstruction like this. They build their internal roads, but typically not the public roads. And so this is a giant leap, actually.
And the one thing I'd like to say is, I mean, this is the Etna Corporate Park. If we're going to put warehouses anywhere, it should be here, excuse me, and we should support that infrastructure there. Instead of just putting warehouses here and there. So I think it goes to that philosophy of let's support that there. They'll either go, I mean, in the future they're talking about an interchange at Mink instead of what they were talking about at Parkway. So it's going to need that infrastructure, and we've got to get on the ball and start worrying about it now. And this is a great opportunity. Like I said, they've put a lot of work. I met with them countless times. We've gone through revisions, and so I think we should do this. I don't know if you guys have any other questions.
Craig, can I say a couple of things?
Yeah.
When you're talking about the loan amounts, you're talking about 180 to 240,000 a year in payments. Is that right? Okay, just to put that in perspective, because I think the $3.5 million sounds like a lot too. But right now, with my 5-year projections, I'm projecting that we're going to carry over $3 million to use next year. So $240,000 of loan payments
8% of it.
sounds far better than handing someone $3.5 million right now, because that won't be the case. Plus, well, it sounds like we'll have jet money coming in to.
It'll take a while to ramp up,
But we can certainly afford $240,000 right now.
Well, here's my concern. Yeah, that sounds like a small number. 3.5 million, maybe people think that's small. I don't. I know that there's got to be road improvements going towards 310. We've got, at least in Columbia, supposedly Pataskala's part of maintaining the road. Ours is from Columbia all the way over 310. There's a school there. There's they're on that road too, so right after we can do all that. To me, we're going to put more warehouses. We're making room for more warehouses right next to us with the Pataskala's warehouses. And I still understand we got to put that much more when we have a really good road on in the Parkway right there.
but the developers on the north end of our corporate park are saying we need it. That access there is what I'm saying. As far as the road things, I am concerned about funding because the prior board, suspended the levy, which we were out over $600,000 for road and bridge improvements. We gave away over $700,000 in funds that we could have used for those things. So I'm very cognizant of what we need to do, but we do have to have an eye on the infrastructure, just like with the sewer and water district that, for the past 10 years have been looking to partner with infrastructure and building it. But we can't delay on this stuff, and we've got to make the investments. The prior boards decided to put that corporate park there, so we've got to deal with it, and this is needed. If we don't, it's going to be half measures, and again, just the quality of the road. It's going to mean the maintenance cycle is less. Mink's going to be developed. We've got to have an eye on the future of, and again, that's why my thing prior was, paying trash, paying all this stuff. We need to worry about the infrastructure and what our duties are, and I think this fulfills them with it. So
I mean, Amazon pack of the rate we have, we lose all that money.
That's another concern of mine, that Amazon's kind of an anomaly, and that they've got a 14-year lease, and but that's where with the budget projections, and that's again where I think we shouldn't suspend road levies, and so if we get to those points, just get rid of them, fine, but we got to look out for now and the future. And again, I think I'm very grateful that we have a competent fiscal officer that can do those projections that we'll look at this stuff long term. I want to look 5, 10, 15, 20 years out of where things are at. I think this fits in it, and like I said, up to $240,000 a year. It could be less, and I've been working on the developers to get that down, because that contribution is in addition to what was planned. So if we could get 500, we got $1 million down already. And the jet revenue was only from Ashley, so now you're gonna have those warehouses too, they're already in Gen 2, you're gonna, so I don't think we could just look at a dollar amount at that.
The Gen that's there, Gen 2, you're saying there.
That property is in Gen 2.
Right, the property you were saying, they're all in at Parkway Refugee.
Gen 2's kind of, it's multiple parcels.
It was the rest of it was left over. I think
It's separated from the other sections, but it's, I'm still trying to figure out how the properties were included in the
But
different
even
sections.
that is, you want us to give up, you want us to give the gen revenue that we're getting to maintain township stuff for the roads and the industrial park and so forth.
Well, we're not giving up anything, we're getting those funds, we decide where those funds go.
Right, exactly. So you're gonna take put them on spend for the next road. It'd be nice if, when they came in, the gen board, which was how we did this, was they paid the, part of that, right? For 310, paid part of the bid.
Does the payment for 310 come out of the BIA account
No.
for Gen 2? It comes out
For Gen Z,
Gen Z 2, rather.
it comes out of the proportion that is allocated to each entity. Etna pays its own, the other entities have it reduced there, but it's not the BIA. BIA account's separate. It comes out of net revenue.
Township net revenue.
The Gen net revenue.
The Gen net revenue.
Typically, the schools will get 30%, and it varies on gross.
Yeah.
You got operating cost, and then, but the BIA is specifically builder's improvement account. That's separate. That's usually a funding mechanism to reimburse the builder for the infrastructure.
I misspoke, and I meant the Gen Z 2 board account. Isn't that where the payment for State Route 310
Yes.
comes from?
Yes.
So, and that brings up another point. That's ODOT's road.
Yeah.
And it would not have gotten done if we hadn't have stepped up at the local level, because State Route 310 was already congested and it needed to have 5 lanes and 2 traffic signals based on the existing traffic, and now there's more. ODOT has statewide priorities. And so we stepped up at the local level and we got our grants, we got our state grants, but we assumed that on that too as a state route.
So we have a mechanism to pay it for, that's covered by the.
And that's why we use the same exact model for Refugee Road.
But I don't think those were gonna create that much money, was it?
Well,
Yeah.
Well, these aren't going to be in Amazon.
Well, we knew that was there, it was at the time when we did the 310 budget. We knew what we were getting with them. Because we already had it a couple of years, so we knew that, but either to pay off that bond.
But even on the projections, just Ashley alone should cover that payment, so any other ones in there should be towards the repair and maintenance of the roads,
But
towards
there's
all.
no gen money coming into the township and to pay. Because we're using our gen money from Ashley to pay for that road, right?
But then we've got these other developments that say they need it, that improvement to do it, so that's
They're talking about using all the.
that's the
gen
bonus.
money.
Plus, Ashley's covered the payment, but now we're getting the 500,000, so now that payment's been reduced about 27%.
Well, I see the gen numbers, we don't get anywhere near 200 out of any of them yet.
Because Ashley's it takes a while to ramp up, so I mean,
and Trustee Johnson, I hear you, some of this is a leap of faith. I mean, but there's a whole bunch of open space out there.
For people that obviously spoke in this township, did doubling more warehouses. And now we're going in debt to build a road for some warehouses.
Isn't it zoned that way already?
in our corporate park, I mean, it's already zoned for it.
Yeah, part of it, yeah, it's in actually, some of it is.
It's M1, already zoned, M2's, I think the Kissel. It's zoned, they could build it, and if we're gonna put a warehouse anywhere, inside a corporate park seems like the best idea, so. I don't know, do you have any other questions for him, or, I mean, I think we know where everybody stands.
I just don't know how we ever get over 310, or how, did you come up with another plan to get the traffic to make, stay off of the rest of Refugee Road at all? Is there any other plan for that?
This project would also connect Little Way to Refugee Road. These two developments have specifically said that their truck patterns are required to be on Refugee Road. And that being the case, and we reviewed the traffic impact studies, and obviously I can't remember all of that. The county engineer and Licking County Planning reviews those traffic studies and approved them. But you know, it's also, again, a cooperative agreement with the developers. This was the route that they want to take their trucks, and we agreed to it. And in turn, they gave us money.
So how is Pataskala going to maintain the road between Etna Parkway and Columbia? How would that be maintained if they're going over to 310?
How would it be maintained?
Well, they should be going over to 310 because even Pataskala was talking about enforcing the no trucks down there and verifying that they could do that on our side. Correct? That was the discussion. Tim Higgins.
I don't know that.
So, I mean, they can enforce it on their side. They're not sure on ours, but maybe with the maintenance agreement, we can. But they should be going down in the Parkway. That's what it's.
ODOT has expressed, just for information, interest in seeing all the traffic studies that we've got going on in Etna. They're looking closely at the intersection of 310 and Refugee Road for improvement. There will be a gap there, you know, between Etna Parkway and 310. It certainly is going to be out there in the future. I personally see this as a very small step towards a lot of future road improvements that are going to be necessary. You mentioned Mink. I mean, Mink is the primary entrance into Interim, and we've got I-70 right here. So, you know, I mean, there's not going to be any less traffic.
But, and I just say that we need to devote towards infrastructure. That was one of my big things as a resident and candidate of paying trash. I mean, I think we paid over $1 million in trash. And that should be, the fund should go towards infrastructure because that's what everybody complains about, traffic. Just, we need to start investing in our infrastructure. If we don't, it's.
That's all we did with 310 project, because there was so much traffic.
But that's what I'm saying, that's not even our road, this is our road.
And that is the model.
But
That is the model.
But that's not rural traffic, there's not that much traffic on it at all now. Going all this
But there's
traffic.
seven, you can't on chip and seal, and you can't, and I said the alternative, it's, I don't know, I think we need to move forward. I mean, unless you have any questions, I think I'm gonna call the question and vote on this. Do you have any other questions for Mr. Lozier?
No.
What happens with the JED money if we don't help with this? Where does the JED money go?
If you don't
If we don't become a part of this.
We still get the JED money.
You still would get the JED money.
It's there, it's not like you have to create, a lot of times it's, and that's one thing I was trying to look into, typically like over FedEx on Tollgate, with Scanell, there was no JED, they created JED 7 in conjunction with, usually it's, you have a CRA abatement, and then you agree to the JED to put those funds in place. And we could also look at, actually we use Reynoldsburg, we can go up to the maximum 2.5% income tax rate. We only go to 2.
Oh.
And would we want to do that because that's taxing those employees more? But if they're coming from Reynoldsburg or a higher taxing authority that gives credits to that, maybe we should and capture that extra 0.5%. But we're not going to get that percent. It's going to be divided amongst all the partners. So, but typically that gets probably about 45 to 50% of it.
What was the excess you said that Amazon, when they underestimated their employees, and what was the excess that it ended up being? Like you said something.
So our original financial models showed that the JED would produce $785,000 a year. But that was based on 1,800 employees, is what they originally said. And now I hear that there's 4,000 or 5,000 employees, and that JED is producing $4 million. I sent you guys the Q3 revenue reports from the city of Newark. It was around $3 million, and typically the fourth quarter, because of Christmas, is the biggest quarter. So I assumed it was probably in excess of 4 million for the year. You can get those now from Newark Mayor Hall, actually, personally.
That's an anomaly though, and these other warehouses aren't gonna support that much, but there's revenue that comes from it.
How many people are at work actually, what's the projected, you know?
300.
I thought it was under 4.
Yeah.
I've seen some, I don't know, I've sent you all this stuff too, but
Like 300.
I mean, I have spreadsheets and it's, like I said, I think we should do it. I think it's reasonable, and two, this is into the future because eventually it'll come off those incentives and, you know, even the schools will benefit. And again, if we're gonna put, I mean, I'm one that was against the warehouses, but because there'd just be a place to have them where, if there's gonna be a place, it should be in our corporate park. So we should support that. We should support the infrastructure that it requires, especially with them making contributions.
One thing about employment numbers is, I think typically, and this is anecdotal, of course, but I think that typically those employment numbers are understated because the state's economic development incentives has clawback provisions. If they don't produce the number of jobs they say they're going to produce, they want their money back, and they're serious about it. And so they're conservative on their employment projections. Gorillapod County left, I think that there was involvement with Jobs Ohio and 629 for these projects up there.
Coles was.
Well, I think that it was Magoo and these three as well. And so whatever they're stating in employment numbers, I don't know if it'll be more or less, but.
They under promise, definitely.
Well, again, that's anecdotal, but they're incentivized to understate actually.
I think, like I said, I've tried to share all the information prior. I was hoping, all this could be resolved from, to where we got here today. If there's any other questions, I think I'll move forward. Any other? All right, I'll move to approve resolution 2203 1501, resolution whereby this board resolves that at the time a property located in Etna Township that is benefited by the Refugee Road Improvement Project is going to be developed, the township shall, before consenting to any development incentives for the property, require that the property owner enter into an agreement with the township to reimburse the township that property's appropriate share of the project costs on terms to be agreed upon by the property owner and the township. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Ms. McKee, seconds. Discussion. And this is, I'm going in order of the resolution, MOU, and then IGA, because I think we should have this before we do anything else. Is there any other discussion? Again, this is just something I negotiated to try to ensure we get as much funding as possible to reduce our debt. Roll call, please.
Mr. Johnson?
No.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
All right, that passes. I'll make a motion to approve the Refugee Road Improvement Project Memorandum of Understanding as presented. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Discussion? I said this draft has gone through a few iterations with some minor tweaks here and there by both myself, Pataskala, and our legal counsel at the county. Is there any other questions or discussion? No? Roll call, please.
Mr. Johnson?
No.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
All right, that passes. I move to approve the intergovernmental agreement dated 2021-01 as presented. This is an agreement between Etna Township, Pataskala, the county, and the TID. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Ms. McKee seconds. Discussion? And again, this agreement's been worked on for quite a while from all parties, and I think it was originally signed by Pataskala back in July last year, was it, Bill? So, any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Johnson?
No.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
And it passes. We'll skip the administrator right now. Go to the comprehensive plan in your packet. And I sent this to you. Been working on firms to try to help with the comprehensive plan. We spoke with Jim Leonard, who would provide a proposal, but I thought that instead of just having a proposal, picking a firm, doing that, we need to really figure out what we're doing, how we're going to move forward, even as the resident had indicated, what type of community input was going to happen. I reached out to several firms. Many are just busy with Intel. But this is one from early on that I liked. It's Planning Next. They had worked on many of the entities in the area. One's Grove City. They go across the country, but like I said, a lot local. I'm trying to remember some of the other ones, but they work on smaller entities and larger entities. They can focus on rural to urban. And what the proposal here is, instead of just jumping into just one firm, that they proposed a workshop, a pre-planning workshop for the comprehensive plan, as outlined here. They have several deliverables, which would be workshop presentation, a summary memo, but they'll go through and evaluate the whole plan, see if we need to tweak it, if we need to redo it. There are some things that we have to provide, like showing kind of where projects are right now, and select individual members to help with the workshop, from the community. So I think this would be the way to move forward. The fee would be not to exceed $4,500. And this is something that could be accomplished pretty quickly on the timeline, that we could take that and either do a RFP, a request for proposal, for other firms, or move forward with them. And like I said, I think we need to get the ball rolling. And while I did like Mr. Leonard's with, I think, Neighborhood Next, his company, he has been taking on several new clients. And I would just be concerned about his being able to deliver on an expedited timeline, where this firm's got quite a few individuals working there, and I think they'd be able to address our situation in a competent manner. So I would move to approve this fee memo as presented, to not exceed $4,500 with Planning Next. Is there a second? And that's only for discussion. No second? All right, that's that. Health insurance plan renewal. I've been working with Frank Carmen regarding this renewal. I hope you guys have had a chance to review this.
I spoke with you.
All right. You guys have any questions, comments?
I don't.
Jeff? Mr. Johnson? What I'd just like to say about it is we originally were presented with an increase to our premiums. I believe it was a 7% increase, where a lot of other entities were at 12%. If we stuck with the same plan, we'd have an increase of about $12,000. However, speaking with Mr. Harmon, we went through and by increasing the deductible and which could increase our exposure, because right now we've got a HSA and HRA. HSA is the $2,700 contributed to the employees. Once they meet that, we fund that through the HRA up until the maximum out of pocket. Now, going to the higher deductible would increase that higher out of pocket. However, our maximum potential exposure would be $22,000. So if every employee used their maximum benefit, it could increase to that cost, but the total premium plan would be $1,000 less. So we would minimum save $1,000. However, if conservatively it's at 50%, we could save, $11,000, $12,000. So which would basically mean a zero increase in premium. So I worked it out where with the proposal that we would have zero increase in premium. Excluding the extra employee, of the different employees, because but based on the employees that we had, it would be a net zero. So I would make a motion to approve this this proposal. Where's the? I already had a sheet. Is it on? Okay, yeah. Increase it for the SOCA Benefit Plan Blue Access PPO at $4,000 deductible. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Ms. McKee seconds. Is there a discussion?
So we went, I'm sorry.
No. What was your question?
So there's no paperwork we have to do, everything just
No, there's
seems down. Yeah.
no.
Right.
And it requires a signature. I don't know if it should be our fiscal officer or one of us. So I would amend that motion to approve my signing this as the representative to approve this rate plan. Is there a second on the amendment?
I'll second.
Ms. McKee seconds. Discussion.
It would be the president or the fiscal officer, right?
I don't know. That's what I'm saying, just in case. So
Yeah.
we'll do it, and then
Okay.
because typically it's all of us. So I know prior boards you authorize one person to sign.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm just saying to add this. So okay. So roll call on the amendment, please.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes. Okay. Then we'll have to do a roll on the renewal and my authorization as signatory if required. Otherwise, the fiscal officer. Discussion. Roll call, please.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
All right, that's done. We'll go to the CPA agreements and new business, Equal System Accounting Advisory Services and Uniform Guidance Advisory Service. If you want to take that, Ms. Marion, explain it.
So I've been talking with our CPA that's done our past audits and that have brought the issues to light. And they suggested that we take up a consulting and guidance, they presented us with a consulting proposal for guidance on how to better handle the grants and the federal monies that come in. And they are also proposing to take care of the Hinkle system notes that are done yearly for our state audit, which by having a CPA do it, that will basically make our transactions for the 2022 bulletproof for a state audit. The Hinkle system notes are $1,200. There's consulting and guidance of $2,500. They're also proposing guidance on like the processes, and I'm missing the words right now for what it is, but that is $3,600 a year or $400 a month, with pretty much unlimited access to them for guidance.
Okay. Well, I'll make a motion to approve the CPA agreements for the Hinkle system, the uniform guidance assistance, and the advisory services as presented with, do you have a preference of monthly or annual?
No, that's just an annual.
Easier. Annually on the advisory services. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Johnson seconds. Discussion?
Does this mean that we no longer need any more training on the basic, on the system?
Well, I think this is different.
Well, yeah, they're doing advisory service for, right?
They're doing advisory service, but I don't think that they're experts
It's
in the
legal.
finance system.
It's legal advisory services, not so much as user or.
Yeah, it's accounting and process. A lot of it is process where things weren't done quite right and the budgets were off prior. So if I have questions and we get big federal grant money, they will tell me exactly what I need to do in order to make it audit proof.
But you're saying, so federal, what else would it do though? So you're saying that if we get federal grant money, we're going to pay all some money so they can decide if we get the federal grant money on how we use it, or?
No. I mean, they're just gonna tell me how to.
Second set of eyes on your work, is that
Yeah,
pretty much what it
yes.
is?
Yeah, I'm trying to find their, did you read the proposals?
What I think this is doing is because the condition of the prior books has been so bad that this is ensuring that going forward it's proper, things are done right, and that we don't have those issues in the future on the audits. And especially coming from where we were, I think this is needed, and the cost is well justified.
It will also probably come in a lot less than what they quoted us at if, you know, if things are going well. They're also providing uniform guidance so that we can comply with federal rules and regulations that weren't always followed prior. So there's a lot of things in the
So
prior.
if you are stuff like, you can ask them a question, right? They will look at something before we send it in, correct?
Yeah.
And if we send something that's wrong, then
They'll help us correct it.
they'll help us correct it.
Yeah. We have all eyes on us and are under very tight watch with the Office of Budget and Management and the State Auditor. So
Yes, I know.
I would highly suggest we do everything we can.
All right. Was this one of the recommendations in the audit report?
All of that, the proposals would pretty much address the things that they mentioned in their audit
I
report.
think that's important. Is there any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
Resolution authorizing expenditure from American Rescue Plan Act funds. There was a law change beginning of the year allowing basically those funds to be allocated to basically general fund. So we've got another tranche of $450,000 plus $1,800 that I think we got in. Was it like 460 something thousand?
I think it's 465.
465. That can be used for specific projects for, I think, general government services or what was it? general government administration, so basically this turns into just general funds. We could dedicate it to a specific project, you know. I don't know if we need to determine that now. Are you asking us to do that now?
We need to, no, I'm not asking you to do that now. We need to determine, like, if there are certain, this was just to get the ball rolling, we need to determine if there are certain projects that you want to designate it to. I mean, it can cover salaries of admin and staff, it can go for road improvements.
My question is, couldn't we just allocate it to salary, staff, sheriff, whatever, to use up that 450, releasing other general funds
Yeah,
to just be totally unencumbered?
Yes.
That's what my suggestion would be. And would you just have to amend the resolution then to state that, or?
Yeah, I just wanted you guys to get to thinking if there were specific projects that you wanted to use it on, then we can formalize the resolution.
Yeah, my preference would be, don't name a specific project here, just do it on general and specify.
We just have to list something that,
Oh,
it can be broad, what we list.
It'll free us up then. And what we can do with that. Is there any other questions? I mean, we're not moving on it, but just to move on, I guess I would say, is there something specific you want to address it to, or I would be fine with the sheriff's contract, if you can, sheriff's contract, any of the staff, road crew, that usually they're compensated out of the road and bridge lending fund, right?
Yeah.
To a port, to
To a
part,
degree.
to agree.
But it could be also road improvements or signage or things like that with all the other.
I'm just thinking of something that we have coming up that we can't, because we can't go back, but we can specify for the year how it should be. So we've got the rest of the year, so we can do salaries, or do we want to leave it up to her to determine what it is? Or, I don't know how we pay the sheriff's contracts, $200,000 a year.
That one's a little trickier because it's a government entity of some sort, but I don't think that also.
Does that include
I'm not
benefits?
excluding that, it could all go to the sheriff's deputies because that was $400,000 last year, I think.
The sheriff's deputies?
It was-
Wow.
it was-
Each one's like
It was
100,000.
like, I don't think it was, I think the whole budget for it was like 200.
Well,
Yeah, I
we're not gonna
get
get it with
it.
administrative staff here.
I have to 350.
No, but-
We have to pick more than just like
But can
administrative
you
staff.
pick,
But
like,
yes,
whatever-
we can pick whatever we want. We
Can-
we
can
don't
you-
have to even define a number of any sort. We just have to say we're gonna use it towards these sorts of things.
Can you bring back, just amended, just whatever categories that
Yeah.
we could put it in?
And then put a dollar amount on it
No.
too, like John,
No.
there's no dollar amount.
So we could say sports staff, the office staff.
You're not making a budget, but you're just making a list of spends.
Of what you're gonna spend it on, and then she can allocate it to whatever that is.
That seems strange.
Well, but that's what I'm saying, that the
But if we're not
460.
paying for staff out of general funds, and we're not paying a sheriff out of general funds, or roads, or whatever it is, then we free up more money in the general fund.
That's unrestricted.
It's unrestricted.
Right, yeah.
So that we won't have to, so our reporting will be done for that, it'll be out. And so that other 465 that we would have allocated to that we could spend on anything, is general funds. So, any other discussion, question, or anything? All right, move on. Yeah, if you could just do that, come up with a couple categories.
Sure.
And then here, legal representation for the Gen Zs. I had previously spoken to our current attorneys, and they have a conflict of interest because they actually represent the township and the Gen boards and the Gen Z boards. I had indicated this a long time ago as a resident that it's a conflict, and we have a situation where there is actually conflict now. And they had indicated that we'd have to go to the prosecutor, and I don't think that's proper, even with the other conflicts. The Gen board, the Gen Z boards should have different attorneys than the township, and especially we're in negotiations right now with Sewer and Water District, which the current attorney is also a representative of for the 6119 portion of that. So I just think we need separate representation, and time to move on. I spoke to Peter Griggs, of Brocious Johnson and Griggs, very accomplished attorney with Judge Aziz. And as I presented you guys prior, the information that he provided of what he's worked on, what he's doing. He's actual, I believe he's the legal counsel for Orange Township and all their matters there. Comes highly recommended. So I would move that we retain Brocious Johnson and Griggs as the attorneys per this resolution. So I'll move to approve resolution employing township's attorneys on an annual basis for the year 2022. And in this, I like his attention to detail. He has a sum of approval $10,000 unless the board approves otherwise. So it's not to exceed $10,000. He states that you have to have an amount in here. His hourly fees are quite a bit of a reduction from the current attorneys. So I think it's cost savings, but also that we'll have our own representation moving forward. Is there a second?
What's the hourly cost, Mark?
Well, we can discuss that. Is there a second? Second doesn't mean agree.
Okay, all right. I just asked.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. McKee seconds. Discussion?
How much is the hourly?
Well, it's
I didn't see it earlier. I saw it earlier, but
okay.
What is it? Just
It's the
Okay.
hourly for the attorney is $168. For the partner, for associate, $154. $100 for associate, and $75 for legal assistant time. I think our current fees are $250 for the attorney and then going down. So, like I said, it is savings, and we will have attorneys that aren't conflicted. And
This is for the township representation for the Gen Z board.
Judge and Z or
Right.
any of the economic development
So-
stuff or anything we want to use.
Right, and they would write, so the judge would take over writing, modifying, whatever you might say, our judge, right?
Dealing with all JEDs, and one of the things that we've been having is speaking with Lori, I forget her last name, the tax administrator for Brownsburg that is involved with all the JEDs, the Ds. We're getting bills, and they're getting bills where we're paying the JED portion of it, but we're getting reimbursed. That was initially instituted to allow, because there were no funds going into the JED, so we were kind of front-ending that, but
Right.
it should have returned to the board just paying directly. They shouldn't be funneling to Julie, because there's been an increasing portion of general, not specified to any JED, which I feel that maybe we're being charged for, so another reason to separate it. But my biggest thing is, you want two separate parties representing you, and right now, we've got the same party representing, and then also dealing with the water and sewer districts, same attorney. We want to break them up. So that's wrong.
Yeah, because there's a lot of bills that Alders has sent us that have been high, and I thought,
Well, those are,
we're supposed to get the money back somehow.
well, we do reimburse, but they should, Lori and Brownsburg tax administrator indicated that those should be billed directly to the JED boards and paid to the JED boards. It shouldn't even come to us. But doing this, nothing will come to us from that, except what we have Pete Griggs will work on, and I talked to him about transition. I mean, there's a lot of things in play right now, but they're very familiar with each other. They work with each other, and that'd be able to be handled smoothly. So, and hopefully, if you have any questions, you've been able to reach out to them or talk to them. As I said, I tried to share this with the board a while ago, just so everybody can think about it and inquire on their own.
Yeah, I'm just thinking a while ago, you're right. And that's why I was asking those numbers. I didn't.
Well, do you have a copy of it? I mean, you should.
Yeah, I do. I don't have it with me.
You should have right that.
Let me see. Did she put it in there?
I believe I put it in there. I was making copies today. No? questions, discussion? That's
For the oath.
no, that's for you. I mean, she's not voting on this. You
Oh,
are.
I figured we were going to answer for
No, I don't know if you've reviewed these, or like I said, one is the resolution to hire that we're considering now. One is just the attorney letter, and one is about his firm qualifications and attorney qualifications. Like I said, they're a prestigious firm, they're well-known, they're well-accomplished. I spoke to Mr. Griggs at the OTA conference, and I believe it's the right move that we make a change of the legal representation for, just to ensure there's no conflict of interest. Any other discussion? Questions? All right, roll call, please.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
Legal representation. All right, now E, liquor permit. You know you've got,
Okay.
that's for you to review. I've been, as I try to make copies of, I mean, I've provided all this stuff in email, but I just want to make sure you guys have it here. We received 2 requests to see if we want a hearing on the advisability of issuing a permit for Gurung LLC over on 12565 National Road. It's at the west end of the strip mall where the Yeti Express is. And then also Etna Vape Shop LLC, 12986 National Road. It's actually that mini mart that is east of Pizzaroni's there. Not that there's Pizzaroni's, the little building, and then that next grocery store kind of takeout shop.
Yeah.
So do you guys have any questions on this? If we're going to request a hearing, this has to be postmarked by the 18th. But again, do you guys have any questions on this?
I have a question. What do you think we should do with it, in your opinion?
Well, they're asking for C1 and C2. C1 is for carry-out of beer, closed container. C2 is carry-out of wine and mixed drinks in closed container. So basically, they're looking to just sell carry-out. In my opinion, the locations, I don't know if it would really cause an issue. People are just carrying them out. I don't think they're going to be hanging out there or, doing that. So basically just kind of a purchase, product purchase.
Basically, at 2 grocery stores.
Two kind of shops, yeah. The vape name is kind of, I guess they sell it, but there's other things in there, so, I don't, basically, if you're requesting a hearing, you're basically saying we should deny it and let's hear, present it, and I don't think we have anything to really say we should deny it. So unless you guys have any other
Is there any
concerns.
other liquor license right there next to those places?
I'm not sure if Pizzaroni's has one, or I really didn't look
We used
into
to have one in that location at one point, but I'm not sure.
And by us doing this, it doesn't say they get it. This just continues the process for them without a hearing. So they'll still have to go through the whole process.
Mike, you have a question?
That location is a traffic nightmare.
Well, yeah.
Where those shops are, it's a traffic nightmare.
Talking about it.
And when Mink gets redone, they're going to widen that. I mean, I think that might help a little bit. So, but yeah, we can't. I don't think we can deny on traffic. We would have to. Typically, it's crime, disturbances, and I even talking to our secretary said I believe back when the Shamrock Motel, they were doing that, and they tried to deny it. There was police reports that, and they still gave it to them. So if you can't deny that one, what can you deny? Things may have changed, but I don't really see anything.
But it'll still have to go through a
No, I don't know. It'll go through the Ohio Division of Liquor Control, their process, whether it'll have to go on the ballot or I haven't had time to look into it that much, but I looked into the hearing portion of it, and I don't think we have anything to justify denying it. We could ask for a hearing, but what are we gonna ask?
I mean, that's a problem, yeah, I get it.
So, yeah. So I'll move to, because this actually requires, I believe, is it the fiscal officer?
Yeah, I have to sign it. So.
Okay, so I'll move to approve the fiscal officer to, that we do not request a hearing for these two applications. Is there a second?
Do not request a hearing.
That we do not request a hearing. Is there a second? And we can talk.
What if we don't do it? All right, I'll second. Well, what do we do if we don't do anything? What happens? The same thing, it's not.
I have no idea, but it says responses must be postmarked by, actually the one is the 17th, not the 18th.
I can email it back in.
I'm all about doing what's right by the day, you know, like, let's not just not send it in. Let's try to comply with what the Ohio Division of Liquor Control is asking. So,
Yeah, they have to, you know, look at the respond by.
well, it says respond by 3/17 and 3/18. So we've got 2 days, 3 days, we don't have another meeting between. And honestly, I think this is, it's just a small matter. I mean, again, they're still going to go through the process. They have their own requirements. This is, unless you can come up with a reason why we should protest it, I don't think we should have a hearing. So I don't know if that involves attorneys, paying for attorneys, paying for, unless you want to go represent us at the hearing. Any other questions, discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
All right, liquor, mosquito control. We have the annual renewal for mosquito control by Licking County Health. I tried to contact, I forget their name up there, to ask a few questions about how they do this. The schedule is either upon request, which has always previously been done, and naming a trustee and Laura, our secretary, or you could state the following dates and weeks, or as determined by the health department based on surveillance data. And then you can put a not to exceed amount. I believe the most prudent action would be as determined by the health department based on surveillance data, because the way I was told that in previous times that the trustee would call in when we got complaints about mosquitoes, but we don't really let the community know, hey, call us when you have some mosquitoes and we'll get spraying completed. So if they have a surveillance option where they're setting traps, they know where mosquitoes are, they know, let them do it. And then in conjunction, if we get complaints, we can have them address certain areas. So I would like to do as determined by the health department based on surveillance data. So I'll move to approve the Licking County Health Department Mosquito Control Program as determined by the health department based on surveillance data, not to exceed $2,500 for the season. Is there a second? Ms. McKee seconds. Discussion? And the reason I did 2,500, which, I mean, if it's more, it's more, less. But previous years, I mean, 2005, it was 4,200. 2004, 5,300. There were some years that only $89 was spent. It seemed like the past years it was 1,900. Now that's based on us contacting them, so I'm guessing we probably didn't contact them as much as we probably should have. But a start 2,500. If we need to increase that throughout the season, we can. Any other discussion? No. Roll call, please.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
All right. And then on that, there probably should be a point person, a trustee that people can make complaints, and that will be the contact to who wants to do that.
Take that, since that, I know Randy Ford, but because I'm doing parks, I can just, and it's the community, so I can just go ahead and take that.
Okay, are you fine with that, Jeff? Okay. I don't think we have to do a
You didn't
motion on
want
that.
that, you know.
I've got enough of my Solid Waste District, update the district waste management plan resolution. G. This is to, I don't know if you guys have seen it, it's the Shockton, Fairfield, Licking Perry Solid Waste District. They need 60% of the district's population, or 3/4 of the largest municipalities in the county to approve this. This just deals with an increase in, where was it? I think there are some bulk rates. The generation fee will continue to be 1.25 a ton through 2026, and increasing to $4 in 2027. So just dealing with the increased fees there. So I'll move to approve this by Resolution 2203-1502. Resolution to approve the district solid waste management plan update summary 2022. Is there a second?
I'll second. When is this going to affect? Because it says it'll change at 20 through 26, and it changes the additional thing at 27, but
Does this affect our trash rates at all?
Well, I think, well, 2027, that's 5 years out.
No, no, but I'm saying, that's why I'm wondering when it affect, if there are increases here, because
well, it's the same.
Residents and businesses within the district will pay a total fee of 3.2 per ton to the district through 2026.
yeah, see, it says through 2026.
Right.
So I didn't know when it
So
started.
we're set, so after 26 is when it increases to, increases.
Oh,
Okay, I read it wrong, sorry. I was thinking it went up twice.
No.
Okay. Yep,
All right. So any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Johnson?
yes.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
All right. Smoke Road pump repair. Originally, there was a few in the community that was concerned about the hump north of the 70 overpass on Smoke Road. It was due to some prior work and settling. It's on the road, but I didn't realize at the time it was in the bridge right of way. I originally got an estimate for $14,800 from Shelley to repair it, but then I realized it was in the right of way. I was told that previously ODOT didn't deal with it. I spoke to District 5, several individuals. I got a call right back about that, and it is in their right of way. They stated that they will repair it properly, most likely by June, and they're looking at possibly putting a small overlay, if it'll stick, within the next couple weeks. So that's not guaranteed, but the full repair should be, because once the concrete plant's open, they're going to try to get that temporary repair, but it should, they'll plan on a permanent fix in June, like grinding it down. I guess some of the bridge edges were going there. He went out there. I've driven it several times, and I know the concern was people driving a little over the speed limit will hit it, and with the suspension, you kind of lose control a little bit. So he even found that if you go a little over the speed limit, which people do. So for safety concerns, we've got that worked out where that will be addressed. So it's not going to cost us anything, but we have to do anything. So just want to let you guys know. I was originally going to ask us to pay for it, but I found out we didn't have to. Any other questions on that? Palmer Road and Lynn's Road curve. I don't know if you saw, there was a news story, Channel 10. There was an accident on March 11 where a car took that turn again, went up and probably 5 foot from the people's house. Apparently it's happened about 8 times since they've lived there 3 years. I don't know if you're familiar with anything being holdover trustee, but apparently John Carl and Bubba Bubba had mentioned that they had spoken with the residents about putting boulders, but they would have to be outside the right of way.
Yeah, they talked about that.
And Bubba said that the residents said no, they didn't want them. The residents don't recall that, and like I said, you know, members can be, you know, hazy with that, but they want something done now. They're concerned about the safety of their kids that play in the yard, even them mowing grass. I mean, it's, you see the video. It's pretty disturbing, and I'm guessing it's probably distracted driving, just not paying attention. And it's only 35 miles an hour, and you're already coming from another bend. So they would like something to be done. I talked to the county prosecutor, and he said that, you know, we should really talk to the county engineer. My concern is liability. Boulders, it's a sudden stop. So if someone does go off and it hits them, if we place them there, whether on their property or in the right of way, that's a liability. I think I'd be more comfortable with something that's meant to break away, guardrails or anything. The design of it, they could still shoot their driveway and maybe get in their front yard. I don't know what could be done. I even thought about maybe rumble strips. You can cut rumble strips into the pavement to maybe warn them before they get there. So I got a brief response from Jared Nur, our engineer, and I think we'll have to talk to him a little bit more, but I think we should do something in that with that intersection. I don't know what we can. Apparently, the past trustees have added signs of arrows, but people don't really pay attention to those. So I don't know what you guys have comments, questions, concerns, what we should do.
I mean, what you said makes sense, but, you know, you said the boulders could become a liability, and when we put them.
Right, and my concern also would be, can we purchase boulders that are then placed on their private property? Do we just
We
give
have
them
some over
boulders?
there, right?
Well,
Back over there.
Well, no, but
we
it's-
wouldn't put them on, we wouldn't put them on their property. But then again, they put them on, I think they were concerned with it, that someone would die there.
what,
The wife wanted them, the husband said he didn't want them.
Yeah.
and the plan before was to put them outside. So Mr. Carlisle was going to do that, but my concern is, can we give township property basically to the people? We're buying boulders to put on their property. Now, the prosecutor said that maybe you can have an agreement, whereas you're placing yours there. I don't know. I don't like boulders because it's a sudden stop. And if somebody gets injured, even though they came off that road, that's like putting a steel pipe for your mailbox. If it's not breakaway and it's a sudden stop,
I'll
or
go back off the road, I'll let you.
pretty far. That car made it pretty far back.
Oh, yeah.
What?
They made it all the way past their house into the garage.
Is it probably about 400 feet? 300 feet?
I would say 150, 200 feet, I'd say.
It'd be different if they had like a mound there.
You'd send
Awful
them.
in a mound.
You'd send
Talking
them.
about airborne, you know.
I know, is that better?
Oh, she would
Drive
go
on her
there.
driveway.
She would have, yes.
I think
So
that's better.
So I don't know, that's something I think working with engineering firms and county, in conjunction with the prosecutor, what we can legally do, what, for liability purposes, what,
County.
so, all that. But like I said, I mean, do you think we should move forward with investigating that and finding a solution?
You work with the county engineer, and ask what a solution would be to it. I mean,
Work in opinion on,
Okay.
I got a good relationship with those.
Which one of you guys want to take that?
Did you call the county, who did you call?
I've talked to the county prosecutor and engineer, but briefly, but this is going to take a lot of work of trying to figure out engineering, the legal aspect of it, the costs of it, are we going to be putting guardrails and all that stuff. I said, I've got a full plate, I can't add this to it, especially if we don't move forward quickly on administrator. So one of you two like to take this, and I can give you contact information with the homeowner. I'd be glad to. Any volunteers?
I'll do it.
So,
Yeah, I mean,
I mean, I can't do everything,
nobody said you could. We don't want you to.
but I don't see anybody, which one of you want to take it? Because then I'll know who to forward it to.
I said I'd do
You
it.
want it, Mr. Johnson? Okay, I'll forward it. Thank you.
Forward it, so.
All right, 155 Freeway Drive Road Extension Request. Have you guys reviewed this at all?
Yeah.
What's your thoughts?
I mean, is that, I didn't think, was there a, did
I'm
the
trying.
board prior look at that before? Thought there was-
There was some discussion. Are you familiar with it, or do you want me to describe it, refresh your memory?
Is that something that the park district would be a part of? Is that, Mark?
No, this no, this
Yeah? No?
this is through Lincoln County Park District. There's a portion, the Evans Foundation Reserve in Russell Heights. They have wetlands and reserve back there. They want to build a parking lot for their use, about 6-7 cars. And they're asking us to extend the roadway to their property line, and then they'll build the rest.
It's what, like 100 foot from those?
No, I think it's like 40 foot.
Yeah, it's nothing, it's not very long.
Well,
So would the township be responsible to do that?
Well, it's a map on the, it's plotted out, and it's a township road.
well, my concern,
It shows on the contracts, something like that.
my concern is just as I had concerns about the Hagee extension of Renewal Hall that cost the township over $13,000. That where Mr. Hagee requested that the road that ended 20 foot, 27 foot, whatever it was, from his property line be extended. So we extended it from there, from dirt to dirt. I still don't understand why we did that, but every other property, including mine and New England Acres where that was done, my property line stops about 20 foot from the road. I have to build that approach to the road. Just because the property is at the end of the road, I don't believe requires us to build that 20 foot, that section. And that's why I was against that previously. They're asking us to do the same thing. And if you look through Russell Heights, again, everybody's property ends about 20-some foot from the road, and they have to build that to the road. I believe that the park district should extend to the road, just like anybody else that's built in that neighborhood. Well, why should we expend to that road? Well, that would basically be their apron. That would basically be their.
There is a property line back here, saying, right?
There's property.
Okay, the road, it shows the road going back, and it shows, when I looked at on track, it showed it going back there, it's squared off. The road stops,
Stops
about 40
right
foot
there.
right. Exactly. So, is that still a township road?
Well, if it's supposed to be a road, they would have went to the end. What I think what they did is just like, because your property's at the end of the road or side of the road, what difference does it make? Everybody else's property, when they build a driveway, they don't stop at the property line and say, at the township, fill in that section. And that's what's happened with Renewal Hall, I think it probably. And that's the only other time I can find that was done. I asked Mr. Singleton, I asked the county.
Do we accept it as our mileage?
I don't know.
Sometimes that counts, that, when you're talking about average zero mileage estimates.
So I said, I asked.
That's what I thought was the answer to that. Now, my question is, this one in our mileage estimates too, 40 foot, I don't know. Well,
I asked.
I don't know how to figure that out.
Yeah. Well, I asked the prosecutor, and they just hired a new assistant prosecutor, which has been responsive, but he's trying to catch up. but I don't believe they responded on, my question was, are we legally obligated to? Because if we're not, I don't think we should extend that. I think that should be the cost to the park district. Because again, if you built a house there and your driveway was extended, you would just bring your driveway, your approach right to that street. Well, what's the difference between on the side or at the end?
But is it a right of way or is it Etna Township property? What is it that road?
It's right of way.
So it's right of way.
Right.
So who owns the road?
Right, but my apron, my approach on my house is in the right of way. I maintain it and I installed it. 20 foot of my driveway is paid for by the residents to get to that road that's in the right of way. What I'm saying is, what difference does it make on the side or the end? Because at the cul-de-sac, you have a lot of ends. Or we're not extending that road to each of their property lines that are 20 feet back. Why is it just this one? We did it once for Mr. Hagee. Again, it cost him over $13,000 to go from dirt to dirt, which was a waste of money in my mind. And here you have the park district that wants to extend it, but I think that should be part of their cost.
When we were discussing his, I think when it came down, I could be wrong, the way I understood it was that it was part of our road mileage, and we turn it in the road line, we're responsible.
But if there's no road there, there shouldn't be any road mileage.
Yes, that's the point, we should maintain the road line, which actually maintaining them. And that was my understanding, I think we did that, but maybe we weren't counting that on the road line, but not this one.
So you're saying either we were improperly counting his road mileage and it wasn't paid?
Yeah, I
So
don't
that's
know,
why we
there's
paid
other
it?
places that have a lot of roads on them, and we accept the whole road, we accept it all in the back of it. I know there's one right here like that too, that goes, there's a pretty big, huge oak tree in the middle, where it's water, looking out things the road. But they're not asking for that to be paid, but at the same time, it's still, it looks like it's in the township, so different road, so I don't know.
Again, in my mind, it's no different than on the side, so I don't think we should pay for it, but I don't have anything official. They wanted it to be presented. We don't have, we can make a motion to do it, but unless there's interest from you two, I would, or if you guys want to make a motion to pave that section, but I don't think we should.
When did we pay that last? Remember?
Russell Heights?
Is the road coming up for pavement soon?
Walking up the binder, the green binder, should tell you we wanted to.
Maybe it's something we'll look into, if this,
Well, we could
do the road, we'll say, you know.
Well, but even so,
Huh?
2015 or 2016, I could go.
but in my mind, whether, the question should be whether we should or not. We shouldn't expend township funds on things that we should, that is a private property owner's responsibility. That's my concern.
Who owns the property? You're saying Licking County Parks District owns the property?
No, they're doing this on behalf of the Evans Foundation.
So
This
that
is a
sound like shit.
this is a wetland that was purchased so that they, from what I understand, that they could build over a separate wetland. So it's just basically swapping wetlands. So they're leasing it, using it, whatever, and they're doing this. So this isn't even for the park district. This is for their use, but not. So that's where I don't think, unless we're legally obligated to do it, I don't think we should.
They want to park lot for people
To observe, no, only their observers. It's not for the public.
Well, it's not for public.
Okay, I'm with you.
Public's not supposed to be on the road. It's only on the road.
Okay.
Public road, I guess not.
Well, it's not a public parking lot.
Okay.
All right, well, I'll let him know. And then, I don't know, do we want a formal vote or just nobody brought it up, so it's just, all right. Pavement, road pavement condition assessment, scheduled road work. one of the things, like I said, with the lack of transition, that just not knowing where anything's been done, I've got some of the stuff, the old plans, 2016 that went through this year. I think it's, well, I think in the past, Bubba, right, you just kind of go around, look at the road, see what's done. Talk to Pavement Management Group, and this is what, well, here's the information on the park swamp.
John had one of those.
Okay.
What, you need this back?
I don't need it.
So there's something else attached to it.
Here, that's not this, you guys.
Yeah, the problem is I can't print. That's the problem.
What,
I gotta get
just,
set up
yeah,
here.
through the laptop or hopefully. But, so Pavement Management Group is a company that will go around, they assess the road conditions, and will also, they'll GIS map it with video with that, but also data points of showing I think there's 20 different, with the ASTM conditions for asphalt, that they'll identify alligator cracking, just crack various deficiencies, and rate the roads, and basically come up with a plan between maintenance and replacement, and just things that will extend the life of the road. The mayor from Heath was here. He's, I believe, one of the jurisdictions that use this, and they have helped them quite a bit. It'll accurately and I guess conclusively determine the conditions of the road versus just subjective conditions. We'll kind of more go out to like a 5-year plan based on how the conditions are progressing, and they will account for the what your budget is, what you want to put in it, and they'll allocate more towards preventive maintenance versus chip and seal and all that. I think it's something that we should look into. I had a little presentation with him this morning. Violet Township uses them. Pataskala does not use them in their current system, but they are going to move towards this. I think it's a better way to quantify the condition of our roads. We're going to get more of them, but also be able to, instead of just saying we're going to do this section or that section, really have it analyzed to see what's the best use of our resources and best allocation for our budget. And you can determine what kind of road conditions you want to maintain, and they'll work with you to say focus more on this preventive maintenance or the various levels of dealing with it.
They're giving us a detailed thing of each road, correct?
Of all,
and they're gonna have a plan for like this.
Of all our roads, and I suggest you talk to him and go through, and he has a video on that. All the roads, and you can color code them. You can even customize the color coding, but it has 0 to 100%. Anything over 90 is great, but it shows you really bad roads. Okay, so focus on these. It's just a way to quantify it. And like I said, right now, I mean, looking at this, it's like, okay, what have we done before? What's scheduled next? It doesn't seem like we've been doing it based on the total actual conditions, but hey, what's kind of on the schedule, and those kind of look bad.
Okay.
And not saying that we're Bubba doesn't know the condition of the roads, but these are quantitative through AI, and I mean, the camera goes through and how many cracks, how many alligator cracks, how many, so it really gives you that representation of where the roads are, so we can, I think, spend our money a little bit, I guess, more efficient for long-term maintenance of our roads.
Is this something they do every year or something every 5 years?
What it is it's, I don't know if he put it in here, he said, okay, here, project setup, okay, here's, in the proposal, he said the initial project cost would be between 12 and 15, it's at 13.5, but that would be every other year. However, in the off years, there is an annual managed services, which they will update any changes, any additions to it, because they're not going to do the full thing every year, full camera. It takes them about 3 days to go through, and then they analyze it. They said after they do it, it would take about 90 days to get the completed project and completed deliverable. But like I said, it's very data intensive, but then also quantified in a way that it's useful to determine what our budget should be. If we put more in preventive maintenance, what's that look like in the projected longevity of the roads? And it'll take a little bit of work to get it up to speed. We'll have to help them to identify what has been done, and if it was a chip and seal last, what's the base, they could work with us on that, get that data in there, and then once we're going, it's in there going forward. I just think this is better than just driving around and saying, these look bad, we got a couple complaints
So
here.
they would give us this full go-through report for 13,000 or something, all right?
13.5, and then, what they do is they go around,
Right.
get all the data, but they'll do that report, and that part of that maintenance, I believe, the other year is, okay, they'll go through and what's your budget, what do you want to work on this?
Right.
So so every year you're working on it, but they won't reevaluate every year, every 2 years.
So we'll spend $1,000 one year, 1,300 next.
1,500 one year, 13,000 next, so it winds up being 7,500 per year.
Yeah.
Because 13.5
And we
plus,
can cancel this whenever we want, or is there a 5-year contract?
well, no, I think, well, no, I'm not asking you to prove it right now. I want you to look at it. I want you to talk to them.
Oh, all right.
But I do think, the terms are in here. Once we do it, it's set up. So if we cancel it, then we cancel it. But I don't know why we would cancel it. And like I said, they use it at Untitled Township right now. They use it at, I believe, Heath, a lot of other places. So if you have any questions, talk to those people. But Alan Hines in Pataskala, he said they're moving to this off of their current system.
This will be next meeting, probably.
Yeah, so if you guys could review that, and like I said, he can give you a presentation, but I think to move forward responsibly with the roads, we should do that. And then trustee division duties assignments, like I said, my plate is full. I haven't worked, again, over 3 months now. I need to get some stuff off my plate. One of the things is I did wind up doing, we had MS4 annual report that was overdue, but then I didn't wind up doing that. But we have to create a stormwater protection plan. So I don't have time for that, so I want to see which one of you would like to take that project on and create that. Here's an example binder.
Is that the stormwater, is that the meeting that you were going to? Is that one of those meetings or no? I just can't remember. Was there a meeting that you were attending with them at one time?
I met, we did a walk around the garage for the MS4.
Okay, that's what I was talking
And that,
about.
but this deals with the stormwater protection plan with the garage, with the salt, with all that, but as with any other government regulation entity, you've got to have a plan, this is one thing that's been deficient. This is just an example, the Refugee County soil and water, they need this back, but they just want to give it to me just so I can see what it's about. But again, I've got too much on my plate.
Is this the
I
one
get
with
to-
Madison that you're working with, Mark? I just want to make sure I have the right thing here. Madison, is that from the soil and water that you're working with on that?
I couldn't tell you. I'd have to look. I can forward you the email, but I met with
Is it this one here? Does that look familiar?
I don't know. I've talked to a lot of people. Honestly, I'm bad at names, but I can go through my email. But again, that's one of the things that we need to do. We're deficient in that right now, and with everything else I'm dealing with, I can't address this now. So I was wondering if one of you two would We'd like
if
to
that's
take
the
that
same
on.
one, if that's the same one, is that the one I was on the meeting, on the call with them at one time, just trying to get out of my
Honestly,
thoughts?
no,
Okay,
it's
all
not.
right.
It's Licking County Soil and Water,
Mhm.
and like I said, this is something with the MS4.
Yeah.
I completed the annual report, so we're current on that, but we need to institute the plan.
Oh, yeah, here's the annual report, yes, okay, yep,
Yeah, I did that the other
give
day.
it to me. Okay, that's the one that I called in on that call, yeah, I remember.
So, McKee, you'll do that. And then one of the other things that I think we really need to address is, and Julie might be able to comment on this a little bit, with the email, with e-discovery and just records retention. I do know that part of the App River plan, I haven't gotten back with Bill Ishii. Part of it, we're on the G3 plan, which is more of a secure plan, and G5 is the highest, but so we're at the G3. But it looks like they have an option for e-discovery. One of the issues that we're having right now is there's no central repository for emails. When there's a request that comes in, everybody's got to go to their own emails, and that's not the way it should work. I know previously everybody was supposed to copy Laura on any email sent or received. That's just way inefficient, and I don't think meets the requirements to retain those records. So we really need to get that implemented. I don't know your thoughts on that, Julie, since you're in charge of records. In my mind, it should be, the e-discovery is a central location where you can put in a term, abatement. It'll pull up everything with abatement. You can categorize it. You can, when emails come in, it'll put different levels of retainage. It's not based on email, but the content. Because we're getting a lot of records requests. And it's the one records request that I got, it took me 3.5, 4 hours to just go through, because there's for all the emails for 2 months. Because you've got to make sure that you don't have any privileged information, no attorney information, no employee private information, we need to get a proper system in place. And again, as we grow, with more employees, we're going to have more emails, and it's something that needs to be addressed. And I think sooner than later. It's something that I was hoping that administrator could handle, and we can still deal with that, but I think we should start working on that now, especially with App River. There is a function in that to try to set that up. I think we should. So again, with everything else I'm dealing with, I can't.
Policy, is that what you're looking for?
No, you have to implement the system.
But what's our policy?
The policy is ORC records retention and sunshine laws. That's the policy.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is it's a different thing you're categorizing it.
Well, that's based on our records retention policy,
Right.
which we already have. We just have to, like I said, all emails, because right now the way it should be is either the secretary or the fiscal officer receives the request. They should have access to all the emails, or whoever's doing that, going to each person to say what emails you have, what emails you have. That's not right. And two, I believe the system that we have right now, we're not retaining stuff where you could delete it and it'll just be off the record, where these systems will, it's there. It archives it, so nobody's deleting stuff, or it's a proper way to deal with it, that copying Laura on everything, so she has it. It just, number one, she gets copied just because, say, you and Julie had a conversation. Well, she's got to take her time, read the email, no, nothing to do with me, so it's a waste of time. But again, you might forget to copy Laura, so then when Laura runs a records request, it's not provided. And two, most people will respond to one, not all, so they're not even responding to Laura that you copied before. So its proper system, whether through the e-discovery app or something, we need to do something. Again, we're getting more and more records requests, which is fine, but we need to be able to efficiently deal with it, because like I said, that one took me 4 hours. And I still have to review the emails for proper content, make sure there's nothing released that's not. So it's probably gonna take another 2 hours.
So how many go through, how much contact do we get?
Because anything that comes from an attorney would be flagged and
You're gonna flag
in those systems. I don't know how this system works, I didn't look into it.
But
But
I'm trying to figure out, like, I used to be on this forever, so. What different way of doing it, so I'm still not, so after trying to understand what you're trying to
You
do.
went from Lowe's to Outlook?
But, I mean, Julie, do you think that's, we need a system in place to easily search and provide? I mean, this can, I believe it can handle documents. Some systems can handle documents, some, but we need email, because like I said, just in the last few days, there's been a lot of requests. But again, you know, I want to make sure that we're providing the records we can. I don't want to miss emails that should have been provided.
Who's
And
using that
it's a-
system now, Mark? Do you have a township that's using that right now, that's saying?
App River, I don't know, there's all different companies that can do
Well, I
it.
didn't know if there was one that you.
Our IT guy has it set up through App River. If you ever noticed that
Yep.
sometimes messages are quarantined.
Yep.
So App River, if you go on their website, and this is how I found out they offer this, and I believe it's through our plan that's paid for already, that will do that. If we have to do a fee, that's fine, but someone needs to set that up. And again, like I said, I've got too much on my plate that, you know, if one of you two would like to address that, or if you want to wait till an administrator.
Person in.
What's that?
We can wait till we hire somebody in, like an administrator.
But until then, we're gonna,
We've done it all this time.
what,
How have we been doing it all along?
on the one from the Cincinnati attorney, have you produced those records?
Yeah,
You copy,
I copied
you
them.
run?
Did I send them to you today? Or just gave them over to Laura? Told her if she needs anything else to let me know, so. Because I was trying to figure out if you're gonna send it in or if Laura's gonna send it to them.
Well,
Between the two of you guys.
well, that's one thing, one person
Well,
probably should
yeah, I
be.
agree, I agree. I
And-
had a
but how-
conversation with Julie earlier about that. just-
How long did it take you to do that, to get those emails, and make sure that there's no attorney emails? or-
I understand, yeah. It
No, but I'm
takes
saying,
some
how long
time.
did
It
it,
takes
how long
some
did
time.
it take?
It takes some time. I've been working on it for a while. It wasn't just today.
That's what I'm saying, it took me 4 hours, and I've got probably another 2 hours of review.
Yeah.
So it just, I think how we're doing is archaic, and I don't think it's proper. So you want to wait till administrator, you don't want to start working on it now, because the system's there now.
Yeah.
It just takes one of you two to volunteer to do it.
Yeah, I can't, I'm sorry. I took on the Mosquito and I took on the water thing. I just can't take on anything right now. But I would work with the administrator to get it done. Yeah.
Well, I'm just saying, I'm only trying to give you a portion of what I
Mark, let's not go there, please. Let's.
Well, it won't be done,
Yeah.
so unless Jeff, you want to handle that? Nope. All right, we will just not do that. No, I had other things too, but it doesn't seem like you guys want to do those. So what I'm going to do, as I said, I've been neglecting my professional duties and also my personal duties. What I can't do is just not going to get done then until we get an administrator or you two
Well, the good
want
news, we
to take some
interviewed
of
today.
that work, but otherwise I'm going to just have to push a lot of stuff out until next month on that. So I think that's a disappointment, and we'll move on. And then we'll go to, I guess we have that, the tree. Don't forget that.
Yeah.
Got a call from Jim Dye, neighbor over here. We own property, there's 2 lots, and one of our trees that's on our property was hitting his house. So Bubba called Tree King. I guess we've used them before. They will trim back the 2 maples for a cost of $570, which I think is very reasonable for that amount of work, especially in today's increasingly inflationary times. So the tree's hitting his house and window, right? So if there's any damage or anything, we're going to be liable.
How big is it? Is that maybe maple it's under there? Is that one?
There's a couple of those.
There's two different trees that they're going to remove.
Take them all the way down?
No, 7 to 11 limbs, branches will be removed. So we're trimming back.
Is he cleaning up or are you guys gonna clean up?
They're doing everything.
He's doing it all?
So I'll move to approve this with Tree King Tree Services for 864 Pike Street, which I guess is our property, at a cost of $570. Is there a second?
I'll second. I want to know why.
Mr. Johnson seconds. What
Why are we
discussion?
using why aren't we doing the cleanup on it? Just let them drop them.
Because, I mean, it's all against the house, I mean,
I'm saying,
I don't think we're going to save, but $40 if you, I mean, most of it's the trip charge,
with the bucket truck and everything, is that what's going on with there? Is it going to climb?
yeah, it's gonna be about
Oh, okay, that's gonna cost us anyways, okay.
well, that's what I'm saying, so they're there, so,
I thought he was gonna drop stuff down, just rope it, drop it down, and you send one guy out, but at times in a truck and a chipper and everything else, and we got a lot of expense.
I mean, and they probably would knock off maybe $40, $50 if they didn't, you know. The
Well,
cost
chipper
savings.
truck is what cost you.
No, but I'm saying what they're,
Yeah, no, it's not.
you're not going to have that price.
They're already sending out a truck.
Right.
Doesn't matter. That's right, that's what I was asking.
Yeah. So, any other discussion? No, roll call, please.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
All right, so that's approved. So that's the tree. Do we want to talk about, we have administrator still, if we want to, we'll go do that and then do the announcements, but we had an old business administrator, full-time interim consultant. We interviewed several today. I know Mr. Johnson, you said you wanted to put consultant on the agenda, so that's why I put that on there. Did you have any discussions? I know, I think I saw the consultant pulled out.
Pulled out. Oh,
Did
for
you
the
not-
interview. It was for the interview. I think that was a mistake. He wasn't, I don't think that we wanted to interview.
Why? Yeah,
Right.
first of all, I wanted us to interview, but then I realized it wasn't an employee, so we
Okay.
can't take an executive session interview. So then I said, he was gonna come here tonight, so we could talk, so we could discuss this plan that he wanted to do with us.
Did you not see his email withdrawn? You
I
didn't
was
see
saw
that?
his email, and he wasn't gonna come here.
He was withdrawn.
Withdrawing from the position as an administrator. That's what you had asked him to come out tonight.
Yeah, I thought he
He's
just wasn't
withdrew
coming
from
here.
that because he was not interested in being an administrator as
Because
an
I,
interim. That's what it was about.
from my, when I indicated people that we want to interview, I listed all of them, and then you listed William Vance.
Yes, I did.
And then I indicated that we can't interview in executive session as a consultant,
Right.
because you got to do it in an open
Right.
thing. And then Mrs. McKee said, well, he's not as an interviewee, he's as a consultant, right?
He's not interested in the interim. That's why he let us know by email. He's not interested in coming tonight for an interview for the interim administrator. That's it. Nothing else said. That's it.
So, okay, that's not what I got from the email, so, because you were saying he was not interviewing as administrator, as an employee.
Correct. As an interim. I mean, he wrote it. He sent us an email. He's not interested in an administrator interim position. That's all. That's what we interviewed today for. That's it.
Okay, so he's withdrawn from the consulting proposal?
I never heard that. I never heard that part.
This is the person that you were bringing in to do that. You haven't had contact with them?
That's not true, Mark. He is not.
I'm asking.
He sent us all an email. He sent us all an email. He's not interested in the administrative interim position, period. And that's what we had today, special meeting at 4 o'clock, when we interviewed 4 people. He's not interested in that.
But Mr. Johnson, you wanted to discuss, Mr. Johnson asked to be placed on the agenda discussing the consultant. So that's my question, based on the email, received, he was withdrawing. And you have not had contact with him since then? I'm just trying to figure out because I was told he was not applying for as an employee, but then received, like 30 minutes later, a proposal as an employee being named, and then we got the withdrawal. So I'm confused, is he still proposing through his consulting agency for work? Or are you guys still pushing? Because like I said, I had serious concerns, and we can't discuss it in an executive session, so we could discuss it here. But as I indicated in the email, I think the board should do its due diligence, especially with the matters and the individuals I had mentioned.
So what's your problem? I don't understand.
Do you want to, I don't know, if he withdrew, I don't know, maybe he withdrew for a reason.
Yeah, did you have withdrew? He withdrew as his proposal. They withdrew from his proposal. He made a proposal to us. Is that correct?
I don't, if you.
Here it is. Please also allow the correspondent to communicate that I am not interested in interviewing for the interim Etna Township administrator position as described in the advertisement job description. Bill Banks.
Right.
How clear you go with that?
And he previously sent a contract. as
Mark, I don't know
interim, so-
about that. I'm just told you that's what he sent for the
Right,
interim position.
prior, did you not see his contract indicating he did 1, 2, and 3 days of costs?
Yeah.
And naming that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So then he pulled out of that. So is he still,
Did he pull out of that? That was
you just
that
read that
was
email.
That's for an interim position that we just interviewed
And I might
today.
have been the confusion.
That was it.
And because,
I think-
I asked if he would come in for an interview, kind of, and that's because I knew you were going to do that. And that's all I can say about it. And when he found out it wasn't, he couldn't do that.
the contract he proposed was hired on as administrator, not as a consultant, not through his company. He hired as administrator.
That was, Conrad said, I don't know, I can't remember
This
exactly
was
what
right
it
work. Well, I mean, I'm reviewing
not here
all
tonight.
these emails, and you guys need to also, because these meetings should not be this long, and we should be able to hammer through this.
Okay, well, let's go. Let's close it down.
Well, we're discussing that. Are you still, Mr. Johnson wanted on the agenda to discuss the consultant, so do you want to discuss
You want to discuss it?
him?
Nope, not anymore.
All right.
Okay, well, I'm the administrator on the full-time, part-time, like I said, I'm glad we interviewed today, and I think we really need to work quickly for that, because again, I cannot continue to take the brunt of the responsibility and the duties for this township. And with you two refusing to take on some of that responsibility, the township's going to suffer. And again, like I said, I found out a couple weeks ago, one of the reports, $500 fine per month for 3 reports. So we're going to run into more of that stuff.
We had to pay reports for $5 a month.
Fine if we did not file them. The 6, if we did not,
But we didn't have to.
and I just, yeah, we didn't have to because I found it and I filed it. But what else is out there that we don't have? We didn't have a transition, we don't have records, we don't have a calendar of when things are due, that's what I'm saying. So we gotta dig into it. I'm trying to do it. I've devoted all my time, business, personal, and I can't do it anymore. Like I said, it's everything will have to be pushed back because I can't devote my time to this anymore, especially if you guys aren't going to take on a fair share. So, I mean, my offer still stands that if Mrs. McKee want to trade full duties, I'll do it today. But otherwise, we need an administrator. You guys need to start.
We should hire one.
taking
We should
some
get somebody in as soon as possible. You're absolutely right, Mark.
full time.
I don't know about full-time.
Well, I'll take
Hire
it that you
somebody
want.
in.
I'll take it that you want an administrator. So that's good. Move forward. All right, trustee announcements and trustee comments. You guys have any? No. I'm sorry. No. Motion to pay the bills and approve purchase orders. Ms. Varian.
need a motion or you want?
Well, hold on. So we got this one, I move to approve resolution number 2203-1503 to approve purchase orders. Is there a second?
Second.
Ms. McKee seconds, discussion. And this is the one, we had that correction, it just, that NCA was just.
It's on there now.
Okay. All right, no comments, questions, roll call please.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
All right, and then motion to, are these the bills that we're gonna motion?
Those are February's list of payments that I promised, since we're doing digital signatures now, but those are.
Do we have to make a motion or this is just for our
No, that's just for
review?
your review.
Okay, and.
I do have a question, Julie, I don't know if I can, under the payment listing,
Oh, yeah.
please, under Mr. Evans, there's a payment of $117.92. Just wasn't sure what that was.
It was reimbursements for,
That was for the speaker stand, cables to set this up in a way, the cable covers, so it's safety wise. And
Donate it back.
what's that?
Donate it back.
Did you take it back?
Wow.
It's a minus and a plus.
oh, it's because I had avoided it the first time and then reissue it.
Okay.
So it's for the
I
speaker,
went
and
through.
it's just for the speaker and the cable stand, and that's it?
No speaker, but
The speaker stand.
the mic stand,
Okay.
because the other one was too cumbersome.
Yeah.
Now you can move and,
Oh, I see the fees.
like I said, this is all set up and safe and nobody's tripping on anything. And so, but that was one question of, I know we're approved for the credit cards for these kind of expenses, so we don't have to do that. Do you know where that's at or?
I just need to give you guys the forms to fill out.
Okay. All right, and then, is that it for you?
I'll have a bank reconciliation for February for you guys to sign, but that doesn't require
Okay. All right, and then, I was gonna say something else, but I forgot. Bills, no, okay. That's all you needed, Julie?
Yep.
All right, comments. Did we need to go into executive session, discuss the administrator interviews at all anymore today, or no? That's why I put that on there, just in case. At the time. Ms. McKee,
I'm sorry?
do we need to go into executive session to discuss the administrator interviews or
No,
anything with the
no, since
position?
we talked about it earlier, so.
Okay, well, I will make a motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
Yeah. I think we're on sign that.
Did you make a motion for approval of bills? You did that.
For purchase orders.
It says purchase orders and approved.
Well, this way,
Pay
there you
bills.
have, or we don't have any.
Yep.
Oh, okay,
Okay, that's what I
so,
was talking about, okay.
so I'll withdraw that motion for adjournment.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion to pay the bills as presented. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. McKee seconds, discussion. Roll call, please.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
All right, now I'll make a motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
Yeah, I'll second.
Ms. McKee seconds. I don't think any discussion on adjournment. Roll